Inside a fog-shrouded house, a man with a fresh burn on his leg pleads for more time. The loan shark who inflicted the wound coldly tells him that if he can't pay, he should start selling his organs. His scarred subordinate agrees, insisting the debtor needs to feel more pain to understand their frustration. Nearby, a woman stands quietly, typing on her phone. The boss notices and immediately snatches the phone from her hands. He scoffs, asking if she was calling the police, and tells her it would be useless, but a glance at the screen surprises him. She wasn't calling for help. She was texting her son, warning him not to come home under any circumstances. The scarred man grins cruelly, suggesting that hurting her son would be a far more effective way to make her suffer. The woman screams, begging them to leave her child alone as two henchmen grab her. The boss orders his men to shut them both up. As they begin tying the woman up, he sarcastically reassures her that he has no intention of hurting her son. Just then, the front door creaks open. A wide, crazed grin spreads across the boss's face as he announces the son's arrival. A boy in a school uniform stands in the doorway, his expression weary as he prepares to enter. As the door swings open, his mother, now gagged and bound, desperately pleads in her mind for him to turn back. The boy steps inside, oblivious to the armed men hiding just out of sight. He calmly takes off his shoes, sets down his backpack, and walks quietly into the house. Suddenly, a red-haired goon leaps from behind a wall, swinging a baseball bat. The weapon connects squarely with the back of the boy's head. His mother watches in horror, tears streaming down her face as she struggles against her restraints. The henchman freezes, realizing his bat is completely stuck, as if held by an invisible force. In the next instant, the boy spins around and delivers a single devastating punch to the man's face. The goon crumples to the floor, and the entire room falls silent in disbelief. The loan shark stares, terrified, wondering what kind of monster he's just provoked. A powerful aura now radiates from the boy, who glares directly at the boss with a clenched fist. The boss screams at his men to take the kid down. As another thug swings a bat from behind, the boy effortlessly dodges the attack. He pivots and drives his fist into the man's ribs with enough force to crack bone. The henchman gasps in pain, spitting, but before he can recover, the boy strikes the exact same spot again, shattering his ribcage. The man screams, his face twisting in agony. As he does, another thug lunges forward with a kick, but the boy dodges it with lightning-fast reflexes. He counters with a swift kick to his attacker's knee, dropping him to the ground in a heap of pain. Just then, a blonde thug sneaks up from behind and smashes a chair over the boy's head, but the boy doesn't even flinch. He simply stares back at the blonde, who looks on in terror as he realizes the chair has shattered on impact. In the next instant, the boy sends the blonde thug flying across the room, where he crashes hard against a wall, startling the boss. Overcome with shock, the boss stares at the boy and mutters, "What the hell is this thing?" He pulls out a knife and glances menacingly at the tied-up hostages. With a cruel smirk, he taunts the boy, asking if his father can still walk after the beating he took. Suddenly, a heavy iron appears right in front of the boss's face. Before he can react, the boy smashes it into him with full force. His parents can only watch, stunned by the brutal display. The impact leaves the boss with his head embedded in the wall. From the other side, he groans that his neck hurts and tells someone to call for an ambulance. When no one responds, he angrily yells out, only to realize that the boy has taken down every single one of his men. Breathing heavily, the boy finally takes a moment to recover. His father watches him in silence, while his mother closes her eyes in relief. He then moves to untie his parents. He looks at them and says that if they don't want him to fight, they shouldn't be so poor. But just as he finishes speaking, he suddenly collapses. His mother screams his name in despair, Kang Sun-woo. Sometime later, at a large hospital, the emergency room is in chaos. Wounded men are groaning in pain as doctors rush to treat them. Amidst the commotion, a well-dressed man in a suit and glasses stands at the reception desk. He asks the receptionist what's going on, and she explains that a loan shark's crew got into a fight. Apparently, they kidnapped a high school student's parents, and the kid single-handedly took down all 10 of them. The man is stunned by the story. Nearby, the injured loan shark orders his men to finish the kid off, but one of them points out that Kang Sun-woo is the one paying for all their hospital bills. The blonde thug then adds that the Black Bear is on his way, claiming the protagonist is done for. Hearing the name Black Bear piques the suited man's interest. He quickly asks the receptionist for the student's room number, and she tells him it's 202. Without another word, he sprints down the hallway. As he runs, he thinks to himself that if the Black Bear is involved, this student might be a promising candidate for a fighter. This could be the perfect chance to verify his potential. He stops in front of room 202 and reads the name on the plaque, Kang. The man sighs, noting that it's unfortunate the boy got involved with someone like the Black Bear. Peering through the small window, the man in the suit pities the student inside. In the room, Kang faces an impossibly tall and muscular man who whose physique seems almost inhuman. This man, the Black Bear, remarks that he never expected to be called out for a mere high school delinquent. He tells Kang not to take it personally, as he simply has debts to collect. The bear stares at the boy, finding him interesting for showing no fear, even when faced with a monster like him. In response, Kang rips the IV from his hand, readying himself for a fight. The giant declares it's time to teach the kid about true fear and raises a hand to strike. But Kang is faster, countering with a powerful punch to the face. From the doorway, the man in the suit watches in surprise, noting the boy's incredible speed. Despite the quick counter, the Black Bear effortlessly catches the attack with one hand, stopping Kang cold before slamming him hard onto the floor. The man in the suit sighs, thinking that as expected, the bear's victory was inevitable. The hulking man scoffs that no matter how crazy Kang is, attacking him is a death sentence. He dismisses the boy as nothing special, someone who will die without a second thought. To his utter shock, however, Kang begins to push himself back up. The student looks at him and retorts, "You talk a lot for someone who's nothing." Enraged by the mockery, the Black Bear's face twists into a sadistic grin. He declares that this is what makes finishing people off so enjoyable and charges straight at Kang. The man at the door realizes the situation has escalated. The bear is actually going for the kill, and he has to intervene. But Kang sidesteps the attack, leaving the bear momentarily stunned by his speed. He follows up the dodge with a clean, powerful kick that connects squarely with the giant's face. The man in the suit can't believe his eyes. The force of the impact visibly deforms the Black Bear's face as he stumbles and crashes to the ground. The spectator is in disbelief, muttering that he's never even heard of the Black Bear being knocked down before. But the giant doesn't stay down for long, rising to his feet in a pure rage. The man in the suit nods to himself. It made sense that the man known as the King of Physique wouldn't be defeated so easily. The Black Bear sneers at Kang, asking if he really thought a kick from a mere student could take him out. Before he can finish, Kang lands another solid punch right on his jaw. "This makes no sense," the man at the door whispers. Kang follows up with another extremely powerful punch, and the Black Bear staggers, clearly dazed from the repeated blows. Despite his daze, the giant manages to grab Kang, wrapping him in his massive arms. He growls that he's being forced to use his best move on a high schooler. The spectator's eyes widen in alarm. He recognizes the hold as the Black Bear's signature move, the Bone Crusher, and knows he has to stop it immediately. The Black Bear begins to crush Kang against his body with all his might, laughing like a madman that the boy is starting to look ridiculous. Finally taking action, the man in the suit bursts into the room, shouting for the bear to stop. But the hulking man ignores him, squeezing even harder as Kang is caught in the deadly hold. The man who tried to intervene can only watch in terror. A heavy silence falls over the room, freezing everyone in a moment of unbearable tension. The hulking man is stunned. He wonders if his senses have gone numb because he's certain he used all of his strength. Suddenly, Kang moves, placing a hand on the man's shoulder and startling him. The brute demands to know how Kang is still moving and why his bones haven't shattered. Enraged, the man squeezes with everything he has, vowing to go all out this time. But as Kang slowly rises to his feet, the brute can only repeat his question in disbelief. Before he can get an answer, Kang lunges forward, delivering a monstrous headbutt straight to the man's face. Now sprawled on the floor, the man dazedly asks if Kang's bones are reinforced with metal. In response, Kang delivers another headbutt, even more powerful than the last, completely crushing the man's face until his features are utterly deformed. He continues his relentless assault with a flurry of insane headbutts. The man in the suit finally steps in, telling Kang to stop since the bear is already unconscious. He urges Kang to calm down for now. He warns that if the fight escalates any further, cleaning up the mess will be difficult. He then pulls out his phone and makes a call, calmly reporting that a man in room 202 of Building B has suffered a cranial injury from a car accident. Hearing this, Kang turns to him and demands to know who he is and if he's working with the criminals. The suited man looks at him seriously and proposes a partnership. Kang immediately scoffs, asking what kind of nonsense he's talking about. Just then, a team of people in strange outfits carrying suspicious-looking equipment enters the room. The team's eyes fall on the bear's unconscious body, and they ask the suited man if they should begin the cleanup. He confirms that the bear won't be waking up anytime soon, and they get to work. Kang watches in silence, completely baffled and frustrated by the bizarre turn of events. The man in the suit approaches Kang and hands him a business card, explaining that the contact on it can give him what he's looking for. Kang takes the card, still confused. The man adds that all Kang has to do is fight for the person he serves. On the card is a strange symbol with a syringe. Disgusted, Kang crushes the card in his fist and tells the man to go to hell. Furious with the whole situation, he gets up and storms out. On his way, he tosses the crumpled card into a trash can, muttering that he has no interest in making money by fighting and wondering what kind of scam they were trying to pull. Watching him go, the suited man remarks that while the boy has good judgment, that kind of mindset can change in an instant. Later, Kang is in a bathroom washing his face after the fight. He reflects that even though his life is a mess, he still wants to honor his mother's one dream for him, to stay out of trouble. Just then, the bathroom door opens, and a man in a brown coat, his father, asks what he's doing there. His father stands by the door, questioning where Kang thinks he's going in his current condition. Kang snaps back, asking who he thinks is responsible for it. He angrily reminds his father that he was once a boxing champion, yet he did nothing and ended up buried in debt. Kang mocks his father's so-called champion pride from a small local gym and demands to know why he was really kicked off the national team. He finishes his tirade by accusing his father of caring more about his worthless pride than about the health of his sick and weakened mother. His father offers no response. As Kang turns to leave, the man warns him not to even think about leaving the hospital. Pausing at the door, Kang mutters that he hates all of this. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness washes over him. Kang collapses to the ground, clutching his head in pain. He figures it's from a lack of sleep, but admits to himself that his head always starts throbbing whenever he sees his father. Lying there, he thinks about how much he hates the old man, who barely brought any money home and was always covered in injuries. He remembers his father bowing his head to the parents of the bullies Kang had fought, a memory that fills him with shame. Kang wants nothing to do with him, refusing to believe his father thinks he did everything he could. It feels like he's just sinking deeper and deeper into a hole. As a high school student, he feels powerless to change his life. He can't even get a job on a fishing boat, let alone make enough to cover their daily expenses. A memory surfaces of some kids calling him to hang out, but he just ran off claiming he was busy. Another, more painful memory follows. A group of thugs smashing his motorcycle, leaving him completely screwed. Dealing with those bullies only made his father's debt worse. And through it all, he can't bring himself to leave home, not when it means abandoning his mother. His life, he concludes, is a complete mess. Sometime later, Kang wakes up on a stretcher, now dressed in patient clothes. He realizes he must have passed out again, and wonders when they moved him to a different room. Grabbing his phone, he checks to see how long he's been unconscious. He notices a strange message from his father. It says the time has finally come to tell him everything, and that he would do so tonight. Kang can only wonder what other secrets the old man has been hiding. Ignoring his father's text for a moment, he immediately calls his mother. When she picks up, he anxiously asks if everything is okay. His mother's voice is frantic. She warns him not to come home under any circumstances, explaining that gangsters are waiting there. To Kang's surprise, she reveals that she was the one who had him move to a different room and registered under a new name to keep him safe. He asks where she is, and she tells him she's hiding in a motel near a police station. She insists that he shouldn't worry about her and that she can't stay on the phone for long. She tells him to keep moving for now before abruptly hanging up. After the call ends, Kang stands frozen for a moment, furious with himself. He realizes it's his fault his mother got involved with those thugs. Without a second thought, he bolts out of the room, determined to find his mother. But just as he does, his phone rings. It's his father. Kang answers, but the voice on the other end isn't his dad's. A stranger asks if he is Mr. Kang's son. Kang confirms that he is, and asks who's calling. The man on the line explains that something terrible has happened. His father collapsed and is now unconscious. The news hits Kang like a punch to the gut. The scene flashes to his father lying on the ground, badly injured, with two friends desperately trying to help him. Later, at the hospital, Kang stands beside his father's bed in the intensive care unit. The man is covered in bandages from head to toe, unconscious and kept alive only by the steady rhythm of the machines. A doctor explains that the surgery is incredibly complex, with the initial cost alone exceeding 100 million won, not including the years of expensive treatment that would follow. The news shatters Kang, and he breaks down, crying in a corner, completely overwhelmed by the situation. He blames himself for everything, drowning in guilt and regretting every harsh word he ever said to his father. Feeling utterly lost, he doesn't know what to do. Then, a memory flashes through his mind, the offer from the man in the suit, and the business card he had thrown in the trash. A desperate hope ignites within him. He has to find that card. He sprints out of the hospital and races back to room 202, the place where he fought the black bear. Bursting through the door, he drops to his knees and frantically searches through the trash can. But it's no use. The card is gone. Kang's despair returns with crushing force. He blames himself all over again, crying as he apologizes to his father, convinced there's nothing he can do to help. In his sorrow, he mutters that it would have been better if he had just been finished off back then. Just then, a voice comes from the doorway. The same man in the suit is standing there. He asks if Kang is looking for the card and if he's had a change of heart. Kang immediately gets to the point, asking how much he can be paid. The man replies that he can earn at least 10 billion won, an amount that leaves Kang stunned. The man adds that even if he doesn't win, the popularity he gains will still bring in a lot of of money. He then asks if Kang is ready to come with him. The scene shifts to a different room, where the two are sitting across from each other at a table. The man in the suit advises Kang to take his time and not rush into signing the papers. As Kang reads the document, he comes across the name Fighting Ward Strange and asks what it is. The man explains it's an underground fighting tournament where the competitors are monsters, their physical abilities pushed to the limit by illegal drugs. Kang immediately states that he will not use any kind of forbidden drug or doping. In response, the man opens a suitcase filled with vials of different colored liquids. He clarifies that this isn't ordinary doping. Depending on the type, it can grant supernatural strength even to a man on the brink of death. He quickly adds, however, that using it is entirely optional. Kang then asks who exactly the man in front of him is. Apologizing for the late introduction, the man says his name is Kim Min-seok and that he works for a VIP client of the fighting ward. He insists that his own identity isn't what matters right now. The real issue is the doping. Kim reveals that not a single champion has ever won the tournament without using some form of enhancement. Kang firmly repeats that he won't use it, but Kim urges him to at least listen to the plan before fighting. Internally, Kang is furious, thinking that Kim is the one who isn't listening. Kim then explains how it works. If Kang can break into the top 20 fighters, he'll be able to choose a sponsor. At that point, he can select the VIP that Kim works for, who will then support his path to victory. Kang, needing only the money, says he accepts and tells them to just pay him already. But Kim reveals the catch. That's a problem, he says. You only get paid if you enter the tournament. The condition catches Kang completely by surprise. Kang can't believe it. He asks if Kim is kidding, demanding to know if this means he actually has to work with him. Kim tells him to calm down, then cuts straight to the point, asking if the money Kang needs is to keep his family safe and healthy. Confused, Kang demands to know who Kim is and how he knows about his personal life. Kim lays out the offer. If Kang fights for his boss, his family will be protected. His father's hospital bills will be paid in full, and the debt collectors will be dealt with permanently. Kang is skeptical, asking how he could possibly trust a stranger. Just then, his phone rings. It's his mother, and he quickly answers. Fearing the worst, he asks if something is wrong. To his surprise, his mother tells him she heard he'd already paid for his father's treatment, and even sent bodyguards for protection. Kang is left speechless. Seizing the moment, Kim adds that a safe house is also being prepared where his father can recover in peace. Kim presses his advantage, stating that Kang doesn't have many other options. Forced into a corner, Kang tells his mother that he sent those people and that he has to go. He promises to call her back later and hangs up before she can protest. With his family's immediate safety seemingly secured, Kang looks relieved. He turns to Kim and asks if all these expenses will be deducted from the 10 billion won prize. But Kim reveals that 10 billion is just the starting amount. He explains that depending on how many people bet on Kang, the total prize pool keeps increasing. A victory could net him as much as 15 billion won. Kang is stunned, calling the amount insane. Kim simply adds that for high-level fighters, 15 billion is actually considered low. However, he then reveals the tournament's brutal reality. Many average competitors pass out or even lose their lives. In fact, only 10% of the preliminary contestants leave the arena unscathed. Kang is horrified that so many people could die while the fighting ward remains a secret. Kim explains that's the entire point of a secret tournament. Even the deaths are covered up. He points to a line on a document and tells Kang to sign, explaining that this is the first step in creating his death alibi. The phrase death alibi sends a chill down Kang's spine. Kim elaborates that the hospital sponsors the tournament precisely because it's the perfect place to manufacture these alibis. By placing a camera in a specific spot and making a purchase in a fighter's name, they can fake any death they need to. Kang asks what would happen if he tried to report them. Kim scoffs at the idea, saying it would be easy to paint him as a lunatic on heavy medication. Besides, he adds, Kang would be declared dead long before he ever got the chance to speak to anyone. Staring him down, Kim calls this the beauty of the hospital system. He reiterates that the choice belongs to Kang Seon-woo alone, and notes that some people take days to make their decision. But Kang doesn't hesitate. He simply tells Kim to keep his promise, then sits down and reaches for the pen to sign the contract. As Kang picks up the paper, a malicious smile spreads across Kim's face. Suddenly, a nurse approaches Kang from behind. He turns to question her, but before he can react, she jabs a syringe deep into his neck. Kang yanks the needle out, angrily demanding to know what's happening. But the drug works fast. His vision blurs, and he collapses to the floor. As Kang loses consciousness, Kim apologizes, explaining that it's just a bit of anesthesia to take him to the arena. Kim reminds the unconscious Kang that his relatives will only be safe as long as he fights in the tournament. Sometime later, Kang begins to stir, his vision filled with a blinding light and the silhouette of a man standing over him. Disoriented, he wonders if he might be dead. As his eyes fully open, he sees a man in strange clothes and silently questions what is happening to him. Soon he hears the clamor of people coming through a nearby door. Lying on a stretcher, Kang asks the man where he is. The man simply tells him to stay quiet and keep moving, promising he'll soon find out. With a look of genuine fear, he adds that this place is hell. Meanwhile, in an office elsewhere, two men were in discussion. One was Cha Eun-woo, the vice leader of the Hosen group. He turned to Kim, questioning if his plan made any sense at all. Staring at a photo of Kang, Eun-woo asks incredulously if a high school student is truly their new representative, just because he managed to defeat the Black Bear. Kim confirms it, noting that even Vice President Haegnam laughed when he first heard the idea. Irritated, Eun-woo asks why that's a good thing. Kim explains that their goal is for Vice President Haegnam to underestimate them precisely because of Kang, no matter how ridiculous it seems. Eun-woo scoffs, asking if Kim truly believes one student can bring Haegnam down. Kim then reveals that they examined Kang's body after the Black Bear's bone crusher attack. He states that the boy's physical condition is beyond anything imaginable. Stunned, the vice leader demands he repeat what he just said. Back in the arena, Kang is jolted awake by a sharp kick to the face. As he scrambles to his senses, a guard in a strange uniform points a gun at his attacker, ordering him to back off. The man claims it was just a joke and steps away. Suddenly, a drone hovers nearby, its speaker crackling to life. It instructs Kang to get up, announcing that his registration is complete. Confused, Kang looks down at his own uniform and asks what it's talking about. The drone ignores him, warning that the first random battle is about to begin. The drone explains the rules. 200 fighters will be assessed for suitability before proceeding to the main arena. It reveals this is a doping test system, where each fighter has been given a random injection to enhance their physical abilities. As it speaks, VIPs are already watching from afar and placing bets on the winners. Kang's opponent immediately grabs his syringe to use it. Kang, however, refuses. He thinks about the promises he's already broken to his mother, like the one about not fighting, but he vows to himself that he won't break his promise to never use drugs. A sudden scream snaps him out of his thoughts. He turns to see his opponent's empty syringe lying in a pool of blood on the ground. The man himself has transformed, his body now grotesquely altered and radiating an aura of pure, uncontrolled power. His face twisted into a terrifying grimace. The fighter roars that he received the power doping as a vibrant purple aura erupts around him. Before Kang can even process what he's seeing, his opponent leaps through the air, charging at him with a powerful double kick. Kang narrowly dodges the attack. The kick slams into the wall behind him with enough force to crack the concrete. Staring at the man's bizarrely enlarged and muscular frame, Kang can only wonder what kind of monster he's been forced to fight. Kang stared in disbelief, wondering how his opponent had sprouted such dense muscles in a matter of seconds. Nearby, a camera drone hovered, broadcasting the fight to a group of wealthy spectators. A mechanical voice suddenly announced that the fighter, Han Cha-yul, had successfully boosted his power. Han roared with delight, declaring that he'd hit the jackpot with the power-up and that his luck was unmatched. He screamed about finally getting out of this place and crushing everyone who had ever mocked him for being skinny. With another sudden leap, he charged straight for Kang. Vowing to annihilate the little brat in front of him, Han closed the distance. But Kang, with a smirk, met the charge with a sharp punch to the face, then settled into a confident boxing stance. Stunned, Han demanded to know if he was being mocked. He couldn't believe the contempt Kang was showing him. Meanwhile, Kang noted that while Han's power was immense, his reaction speed hadn't increased with the doping. He decided to approach cautiously and wait for an opening. However, Han suddenly lunged forward with blinding speed, catching Kang completely off guard. He landed a clean blow to Kang's head, slamming him face first into the ground. Kang knew instantly that he couldn't afford to leave any openings when fighting a monster like this. From his awkward position on the floor, Kang tried to land a kick, but Han saw it coming. A sarcastic smile spread across Han's face as he dodged and delivered another direct hit, sending Kang flying across the room. The force of those two blows was staggering. As Kang sailed through the air, Han snatched his leg, a pained expression still on Kang's face. Han declared that there was no need to read his opponent's movements. He would simply crush him with pure, brute strength. Holding Kang by the leg with one hand, the monstrous fighter slammed him into the ground with full force. The series of heavy impacts left Kang completely bruised and battered. Han laughed maniacally, boasting that he was breaking the boy's spirit. He then crouched, preparing to jump, and announced his intention to see just how much a person could be shattered. He launched himself into the air with enough force to crack the very ground beneath him. Mid-air, he screamed that no one would ever make him leave this place again. With a psychotic grin, he declared himself the new king and came crashing down with a powerful kick aimed at the defenseless protagonist. As his foot connected, Han remarked that breaking ribs was always the best apart. He kept his foot pressed firmly on Kang's chest, pinning him to the floor. Just then, a brief flashback revealed a conversation between Kim and the deputy chief, where the man stated that Kang's bone structure was 10 times stronger than a normal person's. Back in the present, Kang's hand shot up and grabbed Han's foot, startling the larger fighter. In a flash, Kang delivered a clean kick to Han's chin, forcing him to stumble backward. Han immediately tried to retaliate by grabbing Kang's leg, but Kang was too quick, twisting away and leaping back to create distance between them. Han was baffled, wondering how Kang could be so resilient without any doping. He began to suspect that the effects of his own power-up were starting to fade. At the same time, Kang noticed that his opponent's stamina was draining with every passing moment. A new plan formed in his mind. He would keep his distance and wear Han down with quick, precise punches aimed at his face. Kang moves in cautiously, but Han misinterprets this as a reckless charge and lunges forward to attack. Kang is far too quick, however, easily ducking under the wild swing. He pops back up and lands a sharp punch to Han's face, catching him completely off guard. Han tries to retaliate with a body shot, but Kang sees it coming a mile away. He dodges the blow with precision and connects with another clean punch to Han's jaw. Staggering backward, Han is stunned by the speed and power of the assault. Before he can even process what's happening, another fist smashes into his face. He simply can't keep up with Kang's movements. Kang spots a perfect opening and winds up for a devastating right hook. Just as he's about to throw it, however, Han suddenly lunges forward and grabs him with both hands. "Gotcha," Han sneers. "This is so much fun." He claims he let Kang hit him on purpose, but Kang calmly replies that he also allowed himself to be caught. Confused, Han asks what he means. Kang simply asks if he's ever seen how a kangaroo holds its target before kicking. In the blink of an eye, Kang slams both of his feet directly into Han's face. The impact is brutal, completely disfiguring Han's face. He collapses backward, defenseless, muttering that he can't feel his own body and has no idea what's going on. Han grows furious with his own body for failing to react. He can't believe he's being beaten by some kid who isn't even using doping. His eyes then dart across the room and lock onto the syringe that was originally meant for Kang. He scrambles for the syringe, and Kang, already predicting his opponent's desperate move, sprints to intercept him. Kang leaps into the air, preparing to land a decisive kick, but he's too late. Han plunges the syringe directly into his own head. A system window immediately announces that the stamina doping has been successfully applied. Empowered, Han leaps forward and crashes into Kang with a body slam that he has no chance of defending against. Kang takes the full force of the impact and is badly injured. Han holds him up in the air, asking if he's ever heard of a skinny punk before viciously slamming him into the ground. The floor shatters into pieces from the sheer force of the blow. Left completely battered on the broken floor, Kang lies motionless. A camera drone flies in to get a closer look, but Han angrily shoves it aside. "This isn't over yet," he snarls, looming over Kang's body. Han grabs Kang by the throat and begins to choke him, saying he needed this after taking such a beating. He declares that for punks like Kang, he's going to cut off their breathing for good. As his consciousness began to fade, a memory of his father flashed through Kang's mind. With a final, desperate burst of strength, he slammed his forehead into his opponent's face, stunning Han and sending him crashing to the floor. A nearby drone promptly announced that the game was over for the defeated player. Meanwhile, Kim and the vice leader watched the fight's conclusion on a monitor. The vice leader questioned how Han could have been finished off so easily. Kim clarified that Han didn't just lose, he died from injecting a massive amount of doping. He explained that the survival rate for mixing two different types is less than 0.05%. From the moment Han injected the stamina doping directly into his head, his fate was sealed. The vice leader remarked that Kim got lucky, since his opponent had essentially defeated himself. Kim agreed it might seem like luck, but he felt that wasn't the right word for the situation, pointing out that Kang's body was strange. The vice leader was skeptical, noting that this place was full of monsters with incredible abilities, so unbreakable bones weren't unheard of. Kim countered that while their doping could enhance muscles, organs, and hormones, it couldn't strengthen bones. He was certain there was something secretly special about Kang. The vice leader accepted this, acknowledging that Kang had passed and would move on. He then asked what the next step would be. Kim explained that since passing the doping test, Kang had been receiving urgent medical treatment. Afterward, he would meet the other survivors who had advanced to the next stage, monsters who had likely acquired all sorts of powers. Back in the fighting ward's training room, Kang sat on a machine looking dazed and confused. He was torn, wondering if Han had really died because of him. He tried to reassure himself, thinking that he only meant to knock the man out. It was a matter of survival. Otherwise, Han would have been the one to finish him. His thoughts then returned to his family, remembering that he was the only one who could save his father and mother. Just then, the same drone from from the fight flew up and hovered in front of him. The device spoke, instructing all participants who passed the round to head to the main hall. A nearby staff member added a warning, telling Kang that if he followed the guide, all his doubts would be cleared. He also cautioned him not to try anything reckless, as all the drones were equipped with lethal weapons. Kang stood up and began walking, following the drone through the corridors. He wondered what kind of place this was, concluding it had to be an underground facility with no way out. A wave of frustration hit him. He wished he could at least call his mom to check on her. He clung to Kim's last promise, that his family would remain safe as long as he participated in the fighting ward. He realized these fights were nothing like he'd imagined. The people here were far too strong. They were monsters. Even the street thugs were on a completely different level, and now the worst of them would all be gathered in one place. The guide's voice cut through his thoughts, announcing that the main hall door was now open. As the door slid open, Kang stepped through and was met with a bright flash of light. Inside, several drones hovered in the air, observing him. One of them declared that all players were now present and that the next game would begin with 124 participants. With that, Kang took in his surroundings. The hall was filled with a diverse group of fighters of all shapes and sizes, each one looking incredibly capable. The system announced that a short opening summary would play on the monitor ahead. Looking at the crowd around him, Kang could only think one thing: they were all monsters. Kang notes that these fighters are on a completely different level from the kid he fought in the first round. He decides it's best to avoid any pointless fights and just wait for the official matches to begin. However, a man next to him immediately calls out, asking how he even got here and challenging him to a little fight. Ignoring the man, Kang silently wishes he'd changed out of his school uniform before the summary starts. His thoughts are interrupted by a group of fighters nearby. They mock him, saying they heard he only won his first match because his opponent overdosed on drugs. Another chimes in, sarcastically suggesting Kang must be completely clean. They figure the rich VIPs watching are having a great time betting on the kid in the uniform, expecting a pathetic show. One of them suggests they should have some fun with the kid. Another man tries to give Kang some unsolicited advice. Keep his head down, walk quietly, and don't make eye contact. Kang tries to ignore them and walk away, but he's stopped by someone else. A tall, dark-skinned man blocks his path, saying he has a few questions before things get started. Annoyed and not wanting any trouble, Kang's patience wears thin. The man threatens to take him down right there if he doesn't answer. At that moment, Kang realizes that to survive among these maniacs, he has to be just as crazy as they are. Just as they're about to lunge at each other, an arm shoots out between them, stopping the fight before it can start. The tall man glares at the intruder, a man in his 30s with brown hair and glasses. Annoyed by the interruption, the tall man grabs the newcomer's arm threateningly. With a malicious grin, he asks what he's going to do now. As both men begin to emanate a powerful aura, the man with glasses simply states that Kang is just a student. He then effortlessly yanks his arm free, slightly surprising his aggressor. The tall man scoffs, asking if Four Eyes is really willing to fight him over some random kid. Seeing the situation escalate, Kang decides he can't just stand by and take the insults any longer. He prepares to attack, but before he can make a move, he freezes in fear. A drone silently descends and instantly eliminates the dark-skinned man. A system announcement echoes through the hall. The summary is about to begin, and any participant causing damage outside of a scheduled fight will be executed immediately. Kang is stunned. They kill people so easily, without a single warning. He wonders how he's supposed to survive in a place like this. Just then, the summary begins on the main monitor, where a bean-like mascot congratulates everyone who survived the preliminaries. The mascot explains that the doping test round was just a casual event. From this point on, there will be fewer eliminations, but losing any round means being permanently removed from fighting ward. It clarifies that elimination means being rendered incapable of fighting in any situation. The mascot then reveals the main reason they're all here, the grand prize of 10 billion won. The massive sum sends the crowd into a frenzy. Kang thinks to himself that with that kind of money, his family could finally live a decent, normal life. The mascot continues, reminding them that only one person can win the prize. However, to keep them motivated, anyone who reaches the top 16 will receive 5% of the total amount bet on them by the VIPs. This news reignites the fighters' excitement. The mascot goes on to explain that each player will be given a personal camera to introduce themselves and build a following. The VIPs will watch these individual channels and place their bets accordingly. In short, the more attention a player gets, the more money they stand to earn. The The mascot advises them to keep the VIPs on their side to ensure a hefty payout. With the briefing concluded, it announces that rooms have been prepared for the participants, and they are now free to choose anyone they like. As the fighters discuss strategy, some conclude that the best way to attract the VIPs is to show overwhelming strength, and they decide to enter the same room as Kang. Kang himself is concerned that finding a decent room will be difficult, but the man with glasses who helped him earlier tells him not to worry. He promises to protect the boy until the official matches begin. Although Kang is suspicious of the man's motives, he accepts the temporary partnership. As they walk, he spots someone in the crowd who looks strangely familiar. The man with glasses urges him to keep moving so they can find a room. Kang can't shake his suspicion. The man had just been insulted for defending him, yet now he was eager to team up. Kang doesn't understand his motivation and decides he can't be trusted completely. In this place, everyone is a potential threat. The man snaps him out of his thoughts, asking why he's just standing there. Elsewhere, two other fighters observe that one room has already formed a group. They decide their best bet is to get a room near Kang's. They figure that being close to a popular fighter might get them some camera time on a channel the VIPs are watching, which could lead to more bets. After all, muscular fighters tend to be a big draw for the wealthy gamblers. In another room, three large, imposing men are gathered. Suddenly, a plain-looking young man with blonde hair and a jacket walks in, closing the door behind him. He casually remarks that it seems like a good room, a statement that startles the three brutes. They rise to their feet menacingly, but the blonde man simply asks if they can get out of his way. One of them scoffs, noting that the cameras aren't even on yet, and the kid still had the nerve to shut the door. He lunges at the blonde man, yelling that he's asking to be killed. But the young man counters with just 2 fingers. He dodges the attack and lands a clean, precise hit on his attacker's jaw, knocking the man out cold. The other 2 men in the room are shocked speechless by the display of power. The blonde fighter then coolly asks if anyone else wants to greet him. Both men hesitate, their faces filled with fear. He tells them it's better if they just stay quiet. He adds that the person he truly wants to greet is someone else. His name is revealed to be Han Min-soo, and he is 19 years old. Outside the fighting ward, a car sits on a bridge. Inside, Kim delivers bad news to the vice chief. The vice president has once again teamed up with Choi Michon, the former tournament champion. The vice chief despairs, questioning his path forward now that his only hope rests on a high school kid. Kim reassures him, explaining that if Kang makes it into the top 16, he'll be eligible for the second round, where doping is allowed. With bones 10 times stronger than normal, Kang has a high chance of reaching an elite level of enhancement. Kim believes that with just one more shot, he could become a record-breaking monster. The vice chief worries that it will be difficult to keep Kang on their side, as other VIPs and fighters will surely try to sabotage him. Kim tells him not to worry about that yet, revealing that the members of the room Kang just entered are the 5 fighters with the lowest VIP viewership. This news comes as a surprise to the vice chief. Back with Kang, the man with glasses explains that it's not easy to get views, since the audience tends to focus on fighters who have won before. As he speaks, we see the other people in their room. Amanda Grouch, a 23-year-old who fights with capoeira and jiu-jitsu but has a low chance of winning, and Kim Min-ho, a 25-year-old boxer and the smallest fighter in the competition. The last fighter with them is a peculiar man named Min-on, who is lying on the ground muttering for help while trying to lick his own elbow. Just then, 5 drones fly into the room. The man with glasses announces that the drones have started recording and that they need to attract the VIP's attention to make money. He immediately starts flexing a muscular arm, then drops to the floor. He begins doing push-ups using only his fingers, his entire body elevated off the ground as he counts them out. Kang watches on, unsure of what to make of the situation. His gaze quickly shifts to Amanda. She gets into position and points a single finger at the floor, pressing down with so much force that Kang is visibly impressed. She then moves into a rather strange stance, soon mirroring the other man's push-up form, but balancing her entire body weight on just one finger. The sheer strength, performed with no preparation, is astonishing. As the 2 of them continue their impressive display, Min-ho scoffs that just showing off strength is for idiots. He readies himself and then launches forward with an absurd burst of speed. Kang can only wonder how someone could be that fast. All the while, Min-on continues his strange attempt to lick his elbow, rambling confusingly. Watching the bizarre behavior of everyone around him, Kang thinks the whole scene is completely insane and wonders who on earth would waste their time watching this. Suddenly, a system announcement declares that the matches for all 124 fighters have been decided. Everyone in the room immediately looks toward the large screen to check their opponents. Kang's opponent is a man named Kai, who has red hair and an X-shaped scar across his face. In another location, Kim and the deputy chief are also looking at the matchups. The deputy chief asks if this Kai is a good fighter. Kim replies that Kai hasn't lost a single match since his days as a practitioner of a martial art called Lethwei. Confused, the deputy chief repeats the name, admitting he's never heard of it. Kim explains that Lethwei is similar to Muay Thai in many aspects, but it's significantly more brutal and damaging. The deputy chief is surprised, pointing out that Muay Thai is already considered one of the most powerful combat sports where most attacks cause major damage. Kim confirms that Lethwei is even worse. Not only do they fight without gloves, but headbutts are also allowed. He explains that fighters always aim for the face or head. It's ironic since the skull is one of the strongest bones in the body, yet any serious damage there can be fatal, which is why the sport was banned from official tournaments. But the most dangerous aspect of Lethwei lies elsewhere. Strikes to the back of the neck and even to the spine are permitted. Hits that can easily kill an opponent or leave them in a vegetative state. Kim continues, explaining that Kai honed his combat experience in the fighting ward. After his professional career, he was exploited by an organization and has been fighting there ever since. The deputy chief asks about this organization, and Kim clarifies that official ring fights were no longer satisfying for Kai. He started seeking out famous street fighters, which is how he caught the attention of the group that now controls him. The deputy then asks if Kang Seonmu truly has a chance of winning. Kim admits that's precisely what he's curious to find out, a response that startles the deputy. He adds that Kang Seonmu, along with the Black Bear, are the only two fighters who have never received any formal martial arts training. The scene then shifts back to the fighters' quarters, where 28-year-old Kang Seonmu is just waking up. He and the other men in the room rise from their capsule-shaped beds. Kang wonders how long he was out, immediately noticing that his body feels significantly lighter than before. Confused by the strange sensation, he suddenly recalls that this isn't the first time he's felt this way. It's the exact same feeling he had after his brutal fight with the Black Bear back at the hospital. Realizing what's happening, he confirms it to himself. He feels much stronger now. The man with the glasses tells him not to be so surprised. He explains that Kang's muscles were pushed to their absolute limit, and because they recovered without any permanent damage, they've actually grown stronger. The man speculates that Kang had likely never pushed himself that hard before his battle with the Black Bear. He continues, guessing that Kang has also recovered his usual speed, and wonders aloud if he used some kind of recovery-type doping agent. Changing the subject, Kang says he's been curious about something. He asks the man why he risked his own safety to defend him the other day. The man explains that he did it because Kang reminds him of his son. He admits that while he tries to be a good father, his son doesn't like him very much, and is currently in deep debt with loan sharks. When Kang points out that the man is in this death game too, he nods, saying he's here to try and set things right. He finishes by explaining that seeing Kang alone reminded him so much of his son's predicament that he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Kang bluntly tells the man to stop wasting his time on him. He urges him to focus on surviving so he can go back and take care of his own son, because if he dies here, none of his efforts will mean anything. The man seems taken aback for a moment by Kang's words. Then he playfully puts Kang in a chokehold, asking him to help him out one more time, though Kang insists that's not what he meant. Their interaction is cut short by an angry shout. They turn to see Minhan, who is indignantly demanding to know why he isn't scheduled to fight in the main arena. He proudly boasts that he's the guy who can touch his own elbow with his tongue, as if that proves his worth. Ignoring the outburst, the man with glasses explains to Kang that only the matches expected to get the most views are broadcast in the main arena. However, he points out something strange. With the exception of Minhan and the redhead, the rest of their group is slated to fight against some of the most well-known and highly viewed monsters in the competition, yet none of their matches are in the main arena. Kang asks if that isn't actually a good thing. The man, clearly worried, asks what he could possibly mean. Kang explains that this is the perfect opportunity to get the VIP's attention. His ambitious statement leaves the older man completely stunned and nervous. Suddenly, Minhan gets right in Kang's face, telling him that the main arena isn't just about getting views. Kang steps back, startled by his sudden proximity. Minhan continues, explaining that the main arena is where the top 16 fighters reveal their true, world-shaking powers. It's the place to showcase one's real abilities, and he desperately wants to be there. As Minhan rants, Kang quietly thinks to himself that he wishes he could talk to his mom right now. The scene then cuts away to a different location, showing 3 cars parked inside what appears to be a large warehouse. Inside the warehouse, the Vice Chief and Kim stand near a flaming barrel. The Vice Chief complains, saying he'd rather be watching the main arena than waiting in a place like this. Kim explains that since the Fighting Ward's location is a secret known only to certain organizations, their contact likely chose this hidden spot for a meeting. He then adds that someone else has started watching Kang Seon-woo's channel. The Vice Chief immediately questions the motive, wondering if they're being spied on. A voice from behind them remarks that it seems they're finally catching on. A young woman stands in the shadows, Cha Sun-jin, the 19-year-old youngest daughter of the Hoseon group. She claims her interest is solely in the young student, Kang Seon-woo. The Vice Chief scoffs, pointing out that it wasn't long ago she was fired from the company and now she's skulking around like a rat. Kim simply observes that the young lady seems to have taken an interest in their boss. Infuriated, the Vice Chief snaps at Kim for his comment, then turns on Cha Sun-jin, calling her nothing more than an illegitimate daughter. As she calmly walks down a set of stairs, she calls his words harsh, especially since she dropped out of school to help her brothers with the company. With a hint of sarcasm, she thanks him for finding such an interesting meeting spot, claiming she's almost grateful. The Vice Chief tells her to stay quiet and leave, but he's cut off by the arrival of a car. A guiding drone, identical to the ones from the Fighting Ward, hovers into view, startling everyone. 2 men in unusual attire step out, and the drone announces that it will escort them to the main arena. Sometime later, Cha Sun-jin is told she can remove her blindfold. She finds herself in an elegant room, furnished with plush, red armchairs. Confused, she asks where she is. A security guard explains that she is overlooking the main arena from one of the 16 exclusive VVIP rooms. Taking in the view, Cha Sun-jin murmurs that she's finally made it to the playground of the big shots. Elsewhere, Kim and the Vice Chief are in a similar room, with the Vice Chief remarking that the arena is as massive as he'd imagined. An attendant informs them that as soon as the current fight concludes, Kang Seon-woo's match will begin. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes from the arena below, startling them. A blonde fighter is pinning his opponent against the wall by the neck. The Vice Chief stares in disbelief, wondering what kind of monster he's watching. Kim identifies the fighter as Han Min-soo, noting that he's the same age as Kang. The Vice Chief asks if he's another student, to which Kim clarifies that Han Min-soo dropped out. He explains that Han Min-soo used to attend the very same school as Kang Seon-woo. Down in the arena, Han Min-soo finishes his opponent with ease. The announcer declares the match between Room 9 and Room 29 over, with Han Min-soo as the victor. The next battle is immediately announced, Room 10 versus Room 3. The fighters are instructed to enter the arena. Kang Seon-woo and his roommates walk out into the arena together. One of them immediately gasps, stunned by how the scale of this new stage completely dwarfs the previous one. A system announcement calls for fighter Kim Min-ho to prepare for his match. He gets ready, a look of disdain on his face as he waits. Meanwhile, the guide instructs competitors who have already fought to leave the area. Han Min-soo calmly walks toward the exit, passing behind Min-ho. Up in the stands, Kang and his friend comment that Min-ho doesn't look very confident. Suddenly, a small rock smacks into the wall right next to Kang, making him jump in surprise. Where the hell did that come from? Kang wonders aloud. Down below, Min-ho glances sideways at them, his lazy expression unchanged. He thinks to himself that he saw exactly what happened. Han had been walking casually, but with a slight tilt of his head, he'd flicked a rock straight at Kang Seon-woo. Min-ho realizes the man is insane. His speed is so incredible, it's practically unreportable. Just as Han is about to pass him, he stops and calls out to Min-ho. Your teammate seems a little arrogant, don't you think? He asks, clearly referring to Kang. Min-ho feigns ignorance, claiming he has no idea what Han is talking about. Han glares at him, but Min-ho is genuinely confused by the sudden hostility. Staring Min-ho down, Han mutters, "Well, I guess there's nothing to be done then." In an instant, Min-ho drops into a fighting stance and puts some distance between them. Up in the stands, Kang and the others are completely baffled by the sudden escalation. It wasn't sudden at all, Amanda corrects them. She explains that Han can sense even the slightest hint of intent from people, especially killing intent. For a moment, Han and Min-ho remain frozen in their standoff. Then just as quickly as it began, Han relaxes and continues walking toward the exit as if nothing happened. Min-ho realizes what just happened. Han had projected an aura of killing intent so powerful that it made him react, forcing him to imagine the worst. He thinks to himself that this guy is on another level. A flash of the brutal attack he envisioned plays out in his mind. Shaken, Min-ho wonders if he's really this weak and how he could ever hope to get his revenge. A voice from behind snaps him out of it. "Where are you looking?" His opponent, a 31-year-old wrestler named Pais, has entered the arena. In the VIP section, the president of a major hotel, Pais' sponsor, remarks on his fighter's unique wrestling style. A man beside the president explains that a wrestler's striking doesn't matter. Their goal is to drag you to the ground, and once they dominate you there, it's over. They use a combination of throws, joint locks, and other techniques that make escape nearly impossible. He notes that this is why so many mixed martial artists master wrestling. It's a hybrid art with the strongest base. If a wrestler can endure the initial punches, they have a massive arsenal of moves to win the fight. Looking at the huge physical difference between Pais and Minho, the man concludes that this match won't be complicated at all. The guide announces that both fighters are ready, and the match between Kim Minho and Pais can now begin. Minho settles into his fighting stance, waiting for Pais to make the first move. Pais scoffs. "Are you a boxer?" He glances at Minho's hands. "You've never fought without gloves, have you? It's a shame your first real opponent had to be me." With that, Pais charges forward, but Minho is ready, countering with a powerful punch that connects squarely with Pais' face. The wrestler stumbles back, screaming in pain and clutching at his eye, which is already badly injured from the single blow. Pais screams in agony, now completely blind in his left eye. Min scoffs, asking who the weak one is now. Panicked, Pais knows he has to grab his opponent quickly. With his vision severely impaired, a close-quarters fight is his only chance. The lack of sight is terrifying. Min's speed is overwhelming, especially on his blind side. Before Pais can react, Min lands another powerful left punch squarely on his face. He immediately follows up with a right, each strike landing with crushing force. Pais lunges forward, shouting a curse as he tries to grab him, but Min evades the clumsy attempt with incredible speed. He then unleashes a flurry of blows all over Pais' body. As the hits rain down, Pais realizes the vision in his remaining eye is starting to fade as well. All he can see is a blurry silhouette of Min relentlessly attacking him. From the stands, a spectator assumes the fight is over, but Amanda calmly says it isn't. To the surprise of those around her, she points out that Pais is beginning to block some of the attacks. She's right. Somehow he's starting to adapt to Min's movements. Min suddenly senses a shift in the fight and grows cautious. In a flash, Pais lunges and almost manages to grab him, forcing Min to dodge backward just in time. Min is confused. He's the one on the offensive, yet Pais' reflexes are suddenly sharp. Meanwhile, Pais is trying to understand what's happening to his own body. He realizes the vision in his good eye is actually clearing up. A strange sensation washes over him, as if every hair on his body is standing on end. Focusing on this feeling, he understands. He calmly declares that everything is fine now, and then closes his eyes completely. Min watches, bewildered, wondering what kind of trick this is. Believing the fight is already decided, he throws another powerful punch to end it. But this time, Pais, with his eyes still shut, raises his arm and perfectly blocks the attack. The entire crowd is stunned into silence. A chill runs down Min's spine. He knows that if Pais gets a hold of him now, it's over. He tries to create distance, but as he dodges, he backs right into Pais' waiting hand, which clamps down on him like a vice. Pais effortlessly lifts Min into the air and executes a strange but devastating throw, slamming him backward into the ground with enough force to crack the arena floor. From the stands, an onlooker identifies the move as a hip throw. The VIP who sponsored Pais is baffled, asking how he suddenly got stronger from being beaten. His subordinate explains that by losing his sight, Pais seems to have undergone a sensory awakening. Min lies on the broken floor, badly injured from the impact. Pais looms over him, saying he should be grateful. Losing an eye was the key to awakening his true power. Just as he finishes his sentence, a powerful right hook smashes into the side of his face. Despite being on the ground, Min wasn't out of the fight. His punch landed squarely on Pais' remaining eye. Pais stumbles backward, screaming in agony as his world goes completely dark. The VIP remarks that even with awakened senses, a man can't see if he has no eyes. As Pais writhes on the ground, the VIP's subordinate notes that Min held up surprisingly well. He then points out that the situation is irreversible because Min isn't even conscious. Shocked, the VIP asks if he truly landed that last punch while passed out. Down in the ring, Min lies motionless on the ground, his fist still raised from the final blow. Amanda watches with concern, hoping Min wakes up soon. She fears Pais might still be able to locate him, even without his sight. Meanwhile, the blinded fighter slowly gets to his feet, disoriented by the total darkness. Pais roars in frustration, shouting that he can't see a thing. But then, something shifts. A new kind of perception floods his mind. He can feel the individual grains of sand beneath his feet and hear the faint rhythmic beat of Min's heart. The subtle changes in air pressure against his skin become as clear as day, and he even gets the sensation of sight from behind him. A wave of euphoria washes over Pius as he realizes what's happening. He begins to laugh like a madman. He had been disappointed about not receiving a power-up, but this was even better, a natural enhancement that would allow him to constantly improve. With a twisted grin, Pius thanks Min for blinding him, promising to repay the favor by putting him to rest for eternity. With his new senses guiding him, Pius leaps forward to attack the helpless fighter. Though Min is unconscious, his mind is racing. He feels trapped, his body refusing to obey his commands. A memory surfaces of a body lying on the ground, and he recalls his vow to find the man responsible. He remembers being handed a card for the fighting ward, told it was the only way to find his brother's killer. Deep in his subconscious, Min cries out for his brother's help. In the real world, Pius is already airborne, descending with a devastating elbow strike aimed directly at Min's head. Just as the blow is about to land, Min's eyes snap open. He's confused for a moment, wondering why everything seems to be moving in slow motion. Then it hits him. The world isn't slow. He has just become unbelievably fast. In the split second it takes for Pius's elbow to smash into the ground, Min has already vanished from the point of impact. The crowd gasps, stunned by the sudden turn of events. Pius, pushing himself up from the crater he just created, demands to know how Min escaped. Standing a short distance away, Min simply smiles. He thanks Pius for awakening sensations he hadn't felt in a very long time. Now that he's rested, Min feels like he's back at the top of his game. Pius grows frustrated, realizing the kid isn't just messing around. He's even faster than before. Min settles back into his fighting stance, challenging Pius to keep up. With both fighters ready, he announces that stage 1 is about to begin. Pius braces himself, sensing the attack is imminent. In a flash, Min closes the distance and throws a punch, but Pius manages to block it. The successful defense stuns Min. That shouldn't have been possible. He follows up with another strike, only for Pius to block it again. Announcing he's moving to the next level, Min unleashes another attack, but this time Pius cleanly dodges it. Pius lunges forward to grab him, but Min anticipates the move and quickly steps back. He can't understand how the man is able to keep up with his speed. A look of ecstasy crosses Pius's face. He explains that he can feel everything, from the tiniest muscle movements to the rhythm of a heartbeat. For him, there are no longer any blind spots. Min realizes that his current speed won't be enough. He has to take a risk. Crouching low, he gathers his strength, knowing he must reach his absolute maximum speed to make an impact. He explodes forward with incredible force, aiming for his opponent. As he closes in, he prepares to unleash his ultimate technique, the light straight. But just as he's about to strike, a sudden chill runs down his spine. Before he can react, Pius's fist connects squarely with his face, while his other hand grabs Min's arm. The impact sends the young man crashing to the ground, badly hurt. Pius looks down, slightly surprised, wondering why Min went down from a single blow to the face. But Min forces himself back to his feet, using every ounce of strength he has. He's dazed, wondering how he's even conscious after taking such a powerful hit. Pius calmly informs him that if he had followed through with his attack, he would have lost. By falling, Min inadvertently saved his own life. From the stands, an observer notes that Min's speed alone isn't enough to win, and it looks like he's starting to feel the damage. His assessment is cut short, however, when he sees something in the arena that makes him nervous. Min is now moving so fast that he appears to be in 3 places at once, creating perfect afterimages. The observer realizes Min isn't using any performance enhancers. This is pure footwork. He wonders if Min is holding back, saving the speed drug for a critical moment. As Min continues to project these images with his blinding speed, the man in the stands questions his strategy in such a desperate situation. Suddenly, one of the images of Min lunges forward with a right punch. The observer screams for him to stop, certain it's a fatal mistake. But to everyone's astonishment, the punch lands squarely on Pius's face. Pius lunges forward in a counterattack, but Min is too fast, easily dodging the grab. Stunned, Pius can only watch as Min continues to circle him at a blinding speed. Pius is completely helpless, unable to land a single hit on the blur of motion. However, he notices that Min is starting to show signs of exhaustion. He smirks, thinking that the boy doesn't have the stamina to maintain this pace for long. He believes that once Min burns out, the fight will be over. But just as he thinks this, another punch connects squarely with his jaw. From the stands, Kang watches in disbelief as Min, despite his fatigue, unleashes a furious barrage of high-speed punches. The assault is relentless, and Kang can't understand why Min keeps mixing in so many feints when his direct attacks are clearly working. Amanda explains explains that the feints are the core of his strategy. As Min continues to land powerful blows, she clarifies that Paez has lost his ability to track him properly. Because of this, Paez is unconsciously ignoring the feints, which is precisely why the direct attacks are landing. Kang suggests it's a simple trick, but Amanda shakes her head. It's far more complex than that. Kim Min-ho is capable of deceiving multiple senses at once. She elaborates that while sensory doping makes it easier to perceive movement, it takes immense training to process feints at Min's level. The sheer volume and speed of his movements are designed to overwhelm the mind, pushing it into a state of chaos. Min is intentionally causing a mental breakdown in his opponent. Amanda admits she's impressed and a little frightened by how quickly Min adapted after realizing how well Paez could read his initial attacks. On the field, Min continues his fluid assault, hammering Paez's face with punches. In the VIP room, one of the spectators grows agitated, questioning if Paez is actually going to lose to a mere kid. His subordinate advises him to calm down and look closely at Paez's expression. It's not the face of a man who's losing, it's a look of pure ecstasy, as if he's enjoying the beating. Then, in a sudden, swift motion, Paez's hand shoots out and grabs Min. With a wicked smile, he declares that his senses have won, before landing a seemingly fatal blow. Caught in his opponent's grip, Min appears helpless. Paez finishes the attack by brutally slamming Min's head into the ground with devastating force. The entire crowd is stunned into silence by the sudden turn of events, and even the VIPs are taken aback. But then, something impossible happens. The body on the ground begins to dissolve into thin air. Paez stares in confusion, certain that he had grabbed and struck the boy. A moment later, the real Min appears, standing perfectly unharmed right in front of him. From the stands, Kang is baffled, wondering how Min could have possibly escaped the attack. Amanda provides the answer. The punches Min had been landing weren't just physical, they were directly affecting Paez's brain. Kang is taken aback by Amanda's analysis. She explains that Min wasn't just hitting randomly, he was specifically targeting Paez's skull. When the head takes a blow like that, the brain rattles inside, taking a moment to stabilize. In that brief window, a person's perception and senses become completely jumbled. Min exploited this, creating a sensory delay that made Paez believe he'd landed a hit when, in reality, he'd missed entirely. Kang is deeply impressed, wondering if the young fighter might even be stronger than he is. On the arena floor, Min watches as Paez remains frozen in his last attack pose. The dazed fighter can't believe it. He wonders how a kid without any performance enhancers could have senses sharper than his own, muttering about how unfair it is. Finally, Paez collapses to the ground, utterly defeated, leaving Min as the last one standing. A guide drone hovers over the fallen fighter to assess the situation, before officially announcing Kim Min-ho as the winner, due to his opponent's incapacitation. From the stands, the old man cheers wildly for the boy's victory, while the VIP who had bet on Paez is seething with rage over the loss. Back in the arena, the adrenaline fades, and Min sinks to his knees in exhaustion. He looks up, dedicating the hard-won victory to his brother. In another VIP suite, a young woman remarks to her bodyguard that the fight was on a completely different level. She finally understands why the old men get such a thrill from these matches. Her guard, however, dismisses it as just an ordinary fight for this venue. He explains that this place is a playground for the elite, where they can unleash their darkest desires. It's a world where money and power are the only laws, and even death has no consequences. Anything goes here. Even powerful hallucinogens can get past security without a second glance. It's a paradise for those who crave experiences they can't find in the outside world. The bodyguard adds that this is why the VIPs invest so heavily in the arena, noting that the second director's aggressive attempt to seize control is a major concern. This strategy allows the director to handpick the best fighters, as he recognizes the arena's immense potential. The young woman finds his ruthless ambition impressive, understanding now why he's making such bold moves. Back with Kang, his expression hardens with resolve. He declares that this will all be over in the next round. Elsewhere, a man watches a replay of Min's match on a monitor. An assistant approaches, addressing him as director, and reports that all 16 VIPs have now arrived. A heavily bandaged man sitting nearby notes the perfect attendance, then asks for an update on their experiment's results. The man with glasses reports that the second stage of their sensory doping was detected, but its effects unexpectedly dropped by 20%. Furthermore, none of the subjects achieved the expected regeneration effect. The bandaged man asks bluntly if the test was a failure. The researcher shakes his head, explaining that the doping's peak effects are only now beginning to manifest. he adds a crucial detail. For the first time ever, one of their subjects was completely unaffected by the drug, and he believes this anomaly might hold the key to understanding regeneration. The bandaged man's interest is piqued. He asks if the researcher is referring to skin reinforcement and if they can begin implementing it. The researcher confirms that they will very soon. Their next test subject is about to step into the arena, a powerful, red-haired fighter named Kai. The scene cuts back to Kang and the old man, waiting for the next match to begin. The old man gives Kang some last-minute advice, telling him to just give up if the fight gets too tough. Kang firmly rejects the idea, stating that surrender is not an option. The old man is amazed by his composure, wondering how he can be so calm without a single trace of nervousness. Kang simply replies that he doesn't feel nervous at all, leaving his companion speechless. Just then, a guide drone floats over to them. Its mechanical voice cuts through the air, announcing that it is now Kang's turn to fight. Kang calmly walks toward the designated door. He reflects that ever since this all began, he has lost the ability to feel fear. He had survived countless situations where he should have died, and the initial shock and tears eventually gave way to complete numbness. Over the years, this immunity to fear became absolute. Bullies who tried to scare or mock him were met with a blank expression. Even when they beat him, his face remained unchanged. Eventually, the bullies grew to fear his unnerving stoicism. Now, fighting is all he has left, a tool to protect the family he loves. As he looks at his opponent, he knows Kai is unlike anyone he has ever faced before. The two fighters face each other in the arena. In the stands, the vice director remarks to a man with glasses that the real show is just beginning, wondering aloud what kind of doping Kai is using. The man, Min, notes that it's his first time seeing skin reinforcement doping. The vice director asks how toughening one's skin could possibly help in a fight. Min explains that it's incredibly effective. Kai's last opponent had their skin and muscles torn to shreds. He clarifies that in this state, Kai's skin is too thick and calloused from battle training to be damaged by human strength, and that's on top of his already powerful muscles. The vice director's companion mentions that the VIPs always bet heavily on Kai. Min scoffs, annoyed that everyone is backing Kai, who relies on enhancements while Kang is fighting completely clean. A look at the betting board confirms it. Every single wager is on Kai, with nothing on Kang. But then, Min's eyes widen in shock. He points out that someone has placed a massive bet on Kang, a staggering $1 billion in cash. The vice director is stunned and immediately demands to know who did it. The camera cuts to the mysterious VIP woman from before. She's the one who placed the bet. Her bodyguard questions the decision, but she simply replies that high risk brings high returns. She explains that she's following her intuition, believing that taking big risks is the only way to break into the Puros. She's eager to see if this gamble will be a colossal failure or a massive success. Back in the arena, Kang and Kai stand face to face. The drone hovers between them and officially announces the start of the match. Kang immediately drops into a combat stance, determined to win. He quickly notices, however, that Kai hasn't moved at all, still standing casually as if nothing is happening. Kang calls out, asking if he's going to fight. Kai scoffs, replying that as a warrior, he doesn't strike the weak. He strolls toward Kang, declaring that he'll only use 10% of his power, and that Kang shouldn't even think about getting back up. Without warning, he drives a powerful kick into Kang's stomach, sending him flying across the arena from the sheer force of the blow. Watching from the stands, both the vice director and Min are stunned by Kai's overwhelming power. Kneeling on the ground, Kang groans in pain. The vice director watches, wondering if the fight is already over after a single strike. From the stands, another spectator agrees, suggesting it might be best to stop the match. However, a blonde man in the crowd offers a different perspective. He explains that Kang isn't crying out in agony, he's just reacting to the impact. According to him, Kai won't attack again because his only goal was to intimidate the boy, not seriously injure him. Another man asks if this means Kai is trying to spare Kang's life. The blonde man calmly corrects him, saying it's not about mercy, it's about embarrassment. If a professional like Kai had to go all out against a high schooler, his reputation would be ruined. His real plan is to just knock Kang out and end the fight as quickly as possible. Down in the arena, Kai tells Kang to stop pretending to be hurt, warning him that faking an injury won't change the outcome. He offers Kang one more chance to give up, but Kang simply interrupts, telling him to get on with the fight, which catches Kai completely off guard. Kang continues to taunt him, asking if he gets some kind of prize for running his mouth. Kai remains silent for a moment before declaring that this time, he'll make it even easier by knocking the kid out with a much stronger blow. As he prepares his attack, Kai challenges Kang to try and stop him. He lunges forward with incredible speed and unleashes a powerful kick, but to his astonishment, Kang perfectly counters the blow with an equally powerful kick of his own. The vice director, Kang's roommates and the girl watching are all stunned by this display of strength. Kang then shifts into another bizarre stance, preparing a new attack. Enraged, Kai yells at him to shut up and charges forward, but Kang contorts his body into an impossible pose and dodges the attack with ease. Kai notices the unnatural angle of Kang's neck, realizing the dodge shouldn't have been possible. Before he can process it, Kang raises his hand and brings it down in a devastating strike, landing a direct hit on top of Kai's head. The crowd is once again shocked by Kang's raw power. Kai, now furious, glares at him and says that he gave him a chance, but that chance is now gone. Kang retorts that while giving chances is fine, a professional shouldn't be forced to his knees by a mediocre student. The force of the blow was so overwhelming that Kai was driven to the ground, unable to stand. Kang points out that he didn't even have to use his fist, mocking how pathetic his opponent is. Getting back to his feet, Kai grabs Kang firmly by the shoulders, stating that he has no choice but to get serious now. Kang struggles but realizes he can't break free from the warrior's grip. Kai then leans in, preparing to deliver a monstrous headbutt, announcing that this is 50% of his power. All Kang can mutter is a single curse before Kai smashes his forehead directly into his face. The brutal impact sends Kang stumbling backward, completely dazed. But as Kang falls, Kai clutches his own head, wondering why he's in so much pain and questioning if he misjudged his own strength. In that split second, Kang recovers, leaping into the air and planting both feet squarely in Kai's face. The warrior is sent flying backward, utterly baffled as to how Kang could have taken that headbutt without any visible damage. Kang lands on his feet, his vision clearing from the headbutt, but before he can fully recover, Kai is instantly in front of him, rearing back for a devastating uppercut. The blow connects, ripping through Kang's shirt and skin. From the stands, one of the spectators gasps in disbelief, but the blonde man beside him calmly states that it's not over. Without a moment's hesitation, Kai follows through, driving a brutal knee into Kang's midsection. The impact sends Kang flying into the air, blood spraying from his mouth. Helpless and airborne, he has no way to defend against Kai's next move. A vicious elbow aimed directly at the back of his neck. The spectator shouts a warning, realizing that a direct hit to the neck could be fatal. The elbow smashes down with full force, driving Kang face first into the ground. The brutal combination of attacks leaves him motionless on the floor as Kai stands over him, watching. The man with the glasses remarks that this is far too violent for a simple spar. The blonde man behind him agrees, calling the situation ridiculous. When asked why, he simply stares at the arena, wondering just who this Kang Seon-woo really is. Kai reflects on the final blow. He realizes that just before the elbow connected, Kang had intentionally driven his own head into the ground. He wonders if the kid is insane or if it was a desperate, panicked move. Either way, Kai can't imagine anyone surviving that without a head made of solid iron. But then, to everyone's astonishment, Kang begins to stir. He pushes himself up from the ground, shocking the spectators with his rapid recovery. Though he looks unsteady, he manages to get back to his feet as the man with the glasses stares in disbelief, asking what is happening. The blonde man speaks up, warning his companion not to mistake Kang for some weak kid. He admits that even without knowing much about him, there's something about Kang that gives him chills. Back in the ring, Kang settles into a fighting stance, his eyes locked on his opponent. Kai scoffs, telling Kang not to push himself so hard. He advises him to give up now if he wants to survive, but Kang cuts him off, tired of his opponent's nonsense. He challenges Kai, saying he's about to find out if his body is as tough as his mouth. Kai remains unimpressed, claiming that any of Kang's hits would be useless. He tells him again to just give up. To prove his point, Kai spreads his arms wide, inviting Kang to attack and promising not to even defend himself. Kang senses that Kai is underestimating him, but he also detects a strange anger in his opponent's eyes. At the same time, Kai's mind drifts back to his past. To become the best, he had put everything on the line, knocking out every opponent he faced, but it was never enough. He believed only true life or death battles could forge him into a real warrior. Seeking that level of danger, he sought out assassins and gangsters. He would walk into the strongholds of rival groups and slaughter everyone inside, always emerging as the sole survivor. After all that, he can't believe he's expected to have a serious fight with a mere student. As Kang prepares his attack, Kai taunts him one last time, telling him to hit with all his strength because it won't make a difference. In response, Kang unleashes an incredibly powerful punch that slams directly into Kai's abdomen. The crowd is stunned by the sheer force of the blow, but it has absolutely no effect on Kai. He smirks, telling Kang he already warned him. He's not just some high schooler. Suddenly, a flicker of surprise crosses Kai's face. Before he can react, Kang announces he's throwing one more punch and lands a hard left hook, catching his opponent completely off guard. Stunned, Kai wonders what just happened. Kang immediately follows up with a powerful kick aimed at his head, but Kai's incredible reflexes allow him to block it. He instantly counters with a punch of his own, demanding to know what Kang thinks he's doing. Kang desperately throws himself back to dodge the attack. The punch only grazes his chest, but even the glancing blow is powerful enough to tear through his clothes and skin. Shocked that he couldn't fully evade it, Kang realizes he needs to create more distance. He leaps backward, putting space between them. The two fighters stare each other down in the tense silence. Kai breaks it, asking how many more chances he has to give Kang before he finally gives up. In response, Kang just smirks. Annoyed, Kai asks if he's actually laughing right now. Kang simply asks if he's forgotten what he said earlier. With that, Kang rips off his torn shirt, revealing an incredibly muscular physique. The spectators are shocked, wondering how a boy his age could be so well built. Kang looks at Kai and asks, "Didn't I say I wouldn't defend myself?" Kai confirms that he did. Kai acknowledges that Kang is clearly not just some sacrificial lamb. He warns him to remember that this was his choice. As he speaks, his fist begins to glow with a blue, crackling aura. Seeing this, Kang's face breaks into an ecstatic smile. Kai unleashes the blue energy, letting it flare around his entire body. He declares that he is now at 100%. From the stands, the spectacled man watches in disbelief, asking if Kang has gone insane for smiling at a time like this. The woman beside him shakes her head, explaining that he's not crazy, he's genuinely excited. The man can't understand it. He thinks Kang should have given up the moment he saw what a monster he was facing. The woman suggests that this is likely the first time Kang has ever been truly challenged by a powerful opponent. He questions who in their right mind would be excited in a life or death battle. The woman replies that she understands the feeling perfectly. She recalls her own past, fighting against men who underestimated her because she was a woman, only to see their expressions change as she forced them to get serious. In those moments, she explains, she would feel her heart blaze with fulfillment. The spectacled man, misreading her intensity, awkwardly tells her to calm down, saying it's not the right time for such stories. The blonde man seated nearby chimes in, saying he also knows that feeling. He remembers being young and weak, completely unrecognized by anyone. The only time he ever felt truly alive was when he finally landed a punch with his full strength and saw the look of acknowledgement in his opponent's eyes. Hearing this, the spectacled man finally understands. Kang is, without a doubt, a true fighter. Back in the arena, Kang settles into his fighting stance once more, ready for the real battle to begin. The two fighters stare each other down, the air thick with tension. With a slight smirk, Kang announces he'll make the first move and lunges toward Kai. He throws a punch, but the redhead blocks it with his arm, stopping the massive impact dead in its tracks. From the stands, the four-eyed man notes the deafening sound of the blow, remarking that even Kai must be surprised by that level of power. Kang, however, is frustrated, thinking to himself that his opponent's skin feels like solid concrete. Kai readies his right fist, challenging Kang to defend against his attack. He unleashes a devastating punch that Kang manages to block with his forearm, but the sheer force of the impact sends him flying to the ground. Kang spits a mouthful of blood, reeling from the powerful hit. The four-eyed spectator exclaims that the impact shook the entire arena, a display of power beyond comparison. With Kang still on the ground, Kai follows up with a brutal knee strike aimed straight at his head. The spectator watches in terror, but Kai's knee only smashes into the ground. Using incredible speed and reflexes, Kang had rolled out of the way just in the nick of time. The man is left stunned, unable to believe what he just witnessed. The blonde calmly corrects him, pointing out that Kang didn't dodge completely. His back is torn up from the attack. As Kang gets to his feet, a strange sensation washes over him. He realizes, with a shock, that he's feeling a hint of fear. He can't believe it's someone like Kai who's making him feel this way. The redhead taunts him, saying it's time for Kang to admit that he's the one opponent he can never defeat. Kang scoffs at the notion, retorting that Kai isn't the only one who gets treated like a monster. He declares that anything Kai can do, he can do too. Fueled by this resolve, Kang throws a powerful uppercut, but Kai easily dodges it. As he drops, Kang tries to transition into another attack, but it fails to connect. The failed move leaves him momentarily vulnerable, and a flicker of worry crosses his face. A wicked grin spreads across Kai's face as he announces it's his turn. From the stands, the four-eyed man realizes with dread that Kai is preparing to use his headbutt again. Bracing himself, Kang repeats his mantra, Anything Kai can do, he can do too. The two fighters charge and collide head-to-head with a sickening crack. In this brutal exchange, Kai proves to be the stronger of the two. The force of the blow sends Kang staggering back, forcing him to his knees. He trembles, barely able to stay upright, as Kai looms over him and declares the fight is over. He criticizes Kang's attacks, dismissing them as unskilled brute force. But from the ground, a low chuckle escapes Kang's lips, growing into a chilling, almost unhinged laugh. The spectator is shocked, questioning if Kang is actually laughing. Kai warns that if Kang won't end this himself, he will do it for him. Yet, as he watches the boy on the ground, his expression shifts from dominance to one of genuine intrigue. A strange aura begins to radiate from Kang, one Kai has never seen before. The redhead wonders what this oppressive atmosphere is, noting that even the blood on the ground seems to be evaporating around the boy. A look of grim determination settles on Kang's face. He explains that he always avoided fights because people treated him like a monster. But here, in a place like this, he can finally unleash the madness he's kept bottled up inside. The laughter, he admits, is something he just can't control. As Kai moves in to deliver a finishing kick, Kang declares that he can no longer hold back the urge to fight. Sensing the attack, he pushes off the ground in a bizarre motion, launching himself into the air to dodge the kick. Before Kai can even register what happened, Kang has grabbed his head in a vice-like grip. The redhead is stunned by his opponent's speed. Realizing there's no time to react, Kang delivers a devastating headbutt that leaves Kai completely dazed. While still airborne, Kang twists his body, repositioning himself behind the stunned fighter. He then drives both feet into Kai's back, slamming him face first into the arena floor. Pushing himself up, Kai mutters that Kang's movements aren't human. In the next instant, he looks up to see Kang's fist just inches from his face. With a surge of adrenaline, Kai manages to catch the punch just before it connects. Kang smirks, using Kai's grip to his advantage. He yanks the redhead forward and buries a fist deep into his gut. He follows up immediately with an even more powerful blow that sends Kai flying backward, the impact cracking the very ground beneath him. Stunned, Kai digs his heels in, finally skidding to a halt. Catching his breath, Kai wonders what kind of drug Kang is on to have such endless stamina. Kang lunges forward with another left hook, but Kai manages to block it. As Kai attempts a counter, Kang vanishes, reappearing behind him in a blur of motion. Before Kai can turn, Kang unleashes a relentless flurry of strikes against his back and sides. Overwhelmed, Kai can only think that this is insane. With no time to defend himself, he takes another brutal punch to the face, the force of the blow staggering him. The redhead is sent flying one last time, crashing to the floor without even trying to break his fall. A stunned silence falls over the crowd as they witness the unbelievable turn of events. Down in the arena, Kai lies motionless, seemingly defeated. His body is covered in blood. In the VIP section, a man with glasses wonders aloud if Kai is dead, but the woman beside him corrects him. She points out that the blood isn't Kai's, it's from Kang's own shredded fists. Lying on the ground, Kai feels a strange sense of intoxication, as if every muscle in his body is being torn apart. Despite the immense pain, he slowly pushes himself back to his feet. The VIP woman asks in disbelief why he's still getting up. Her bodyguard explains that the drug Kai took hardens his skin like armor, meaning Kang's blows haven't been landing with their full, devastating effect. Then how is he supposed to take him down? She asks. Down in the ring, Kai admits to himself that he's never felt pain like this. However, he can see that Kang can barely keep his eyes open. The boy has to be at his limit as well. Vowing to end it by breaking Kang's legs, Kai lunges forward, only to be surprised that his opponent can still react to his speed. Kang throws a desperate punch, but Kai deflects it with his forearm. The blow glances off harmlessly, and for a moment, Kang looks worried. Seeing his chance in that brief opening, Kai declares, "I'll finish this now." As they both lunge forward to strike, Kai feels a strange weakness in his attack. His fists are numb. He suddenly understands Kang's strategy. The boy had been taking hits in a way that specifically prevented Kai's skin from hardening. A tremor runs through Kai's body, and he can't understand why. With his strength fading, he knows there's no point in dragging the fight out. Spotting a momentary opening, Kai decides to put all his years of training into one final decisive low kick. The kick connects squarely with Kang's leg before he can react. The impact dazes him, nearly knocking him unconscious. Believing this is the end for Kang's legs, Kai moves in to deliver another crippling blow. But to Kai's astonishment, Kang retaliates with a kick of his own, meeting the attack with his shin. The force of the impact is immense, and a deep gash tears open on Kang's leg. From the stands, a spectator remarks on the sickening crack, certain that Kang's leg must be broken. Kang wobbles into a strange stance, his eyes fixed on the horrific state of his own leg. The muscles are completely torn, rendering it useless. Seeing his opponent immobilized, Kai prepares to end it all with a powerful kick to Kang's torso, yelling that this is the finish. A spectator shouts in desperation, but as Kai steps forward to deliver the final blow, his own leg suddenly shatters beneath him. Speechless, he collapses to the ground, his body unable to support his weight. As he tries to catch himself, his arm breaks as well. Kai screams in agony, wondering if this is all a nightmare. He had taken a drug to strengthen his bones, but that was exactly what Kang had been targeting from the very beginning. Kai lies on the ground, completely broken and defeated. The entire crowd is stunned into silence by the sudden turn of events. While the vice director and his companion look on in horror, the young girl smiles, pleased with Kang's victory. With Kai incapacitated, Kang Sung-woo is the last man standing. The vice director, completely bewildered, asks for an explanation of what just happened. The man explains that Kai's tough skin and muscles allowed him to fight without a scratch, but all that force was transferred internally. While he looked fine on the outside, his bones were taking a beating equivalent to being struck by a hammer. The doping he took numbed the pain, allowing him to push his body far beyond its natural limits. As a result, Kai's arms and legs are now riddled with fractures. A guide drone hovers over the fallen fighter and officially announces that with Kai unable to continue, Kang Sung-woo is the winner. Hearing the declaration, Kang lets out a triumphant shout. The spectator who had been watching intently can't believe the result, wondering aloud if Kang is some kind of zombie. Nearby, the suspicious blonde man mutters that Kang is definitely hiding something. His victory secured, Kang finally collapses to the ground, completely spent. As he lies on the ground, Kang Seung-woo thinks of his mother, silently asking her to wait just a little longer. Elsewhere, the bandaged man asks the lead scientist if he's certain Kang didn't use any performance enhancers. The scientist calmly confirms that after the first round, Kang's body came back completely clean on the doping check. Unsatisfied, the bandaged man declares he wants to know more about the boy's past and orders an investigation, starting with his relatives. Meanwhile, at a hospital, Kang's mother sits by his father's bedside. The door to the room suddenly slides open, and she tells the visitors it isn't a good time, but stops when she sees two men in suits. Confused, she asks who they are. Back at the arena, two medics carry the protagonist away on a stretcher, his body completely worn out from the intense battle. The vice director watches him go, wondering if Kang will even stand a chance in the next round with such severe injuries. The scientist, however, reveals he has a plan. He explains that a physical exam is coming up, and he wants to use it as an opportunity to test a secret doping agent on Kang. If the boy's body can handle it, he will become their strongest candidate for victory. The vice director points out that according to the rules, they can't force a player to take the drug if he refuses. Holding up a syringe, the scientist clarifies that this is just a preliminary test to see if Kang's body is compatible. If he passes, everything will proceed as planned. The vice director then asks what happens if he fails. The scientist's tone turns cold as he replies that a failed test would make Kang useless to them, and they would simply have to prepare an alternative. Later, in Kang Sung-woo's recovery room, a medical capsule hums quietly. A figure in a specialized suit approaches with a syringe and begins to open the capsule where Kang is sleeping. In the VIP room, the vice director notes that Kang only needs one more win to enter the round of 16. He recalls that one of the top 16 fighters is selected based on betting volume, and questions whether anyone would bet a large amount of money on an injured fighter like Kang. The scientist, Kim, reminds him that Kang has already won 2 matches without any doping, a feat no one has ever accomplished before. This alone will attract immense attention from the VIPs. If he wins again, the bets will flood in. Kim states that ultimately, winning the championship without doping is impossible, so their priority is to ensure Kang is capable of using it. The vice director agrees, reasoning that Kang is desperate enough to do anything to save his parents, including taking the drug. Kim coldly reiterates that if Kang's body is physically incapable of handling it, they will discard him in the next match. He then adds that in case of failure, they have already arranged for immediate security and medical support for his parents. Slightly reassured, the vice director comments that Kang will eventually hear news about his parents one way or another. Kim then announces that a man will be arriving shortly with the results of Kang's doping test. This prompts the vice director to ask how a simple secretary from the fighting ward wields so much power. Kim admits that he doesn't have that kind of authority and is risking his life by orchestrating this. Curious, the vice director asks why he's taking such a huge risk. Kim reveals his true motive. He is helping the director remove the elder and become the true owner of Hashin. But his personal ambition is to find the strongest humans to emerge from the fighting ward battles, a goal he is willing to die for. With a wicked expression, he adds that he doesn't care if others have to die for it either. The vice director just smiles, remarking that he likes that lunatic look. Suddenly, the door to their room slides open. The man who enters is the same one who was in Kang's room earlier. Kim immediately asks for the doping test results. The man reports that unexpectedly, there wasn't a single reaction. He asks if this means Kang is physically incapable of using doping, and Kim confirms it. Hearing this, the vice director becomes furious. He orders his men to erase all evidence of Kang and immediately cut off all support to his family. He then corrects himself, deciding it would be faster to just eliminate his parents altogether. Meanwhile, Kang remains unconscious in his room, recovering from the physical toll of his last fight. Back in the main hall, the other winners have gathered. The blonde fighter observes that with everyone called to the lobby, it seems all 62 victors have been decided. The fighter with glasses, whose arm is now grotesquely large, notes that Kang must not have recovered yet since he hasn't returned. The female fighter, Amanda, replies that this might be a good thing, as the next round won't begin until everyone is present. As she stretches with incredible flexibility, she adds that this is a great opportunity to rest. The blonde fighter stares, shocked by how limber she is. Amanda remarks that Kang seemed exhausted from the very start of the tournament. The blonde agrees, pointing out that for fighters like them, competing here means dealing with serious injuries. He then notes that in contrast, both Amanda and the man with the glasses made it to the top 62 without a single scratch. He specifically mentions the arm of Park Woo-shin, revealing the name of the man with the glasses. A brief flashback shows his fight, where his monstrous right arm took his opponent completely by surprise. Park admits that even he didn't know his arm could transform like that. Park then turns the attention to Amanda, saying she defeated her opponent with ease, without even using her arms. He remarks that the fight was over so fast it barely seemed real. The blonde fighter, Min, chimes in, admitting he still has no idea how she managed to win. He asks Amanda if she can explain her technique. She coolly asks if he really wants her to reveal her secrets, reminding him that they could end up facing each other later in the tournament. The reality of the situation suddenly dawns on Min, and he falls silent. Just then, Min Hoon appears, complaining about being left out of the conversation. He boasts that he also won his match and was the best, acting as unhinged as ever. Before he can continue, a large screen flickers to life. The tournament organizer begins an announcement, congratulating the 62 fighters who advanced. The organizer explains that they only need to win one more fight. Winning the next round will advance them to the top 31. From there, the top 16 will be decided not by fighting, but by who received the most bets from the VIPs. He adds that anyone who survives the top 16 will receive 5% of the total amount bet on them. The crowd erupts in a euphoric frenzy at the mention of the prize money. The organizer reminds them that to earn more bets, they must prove their strength in the upcoming battle. He also reassures them about injuries, explaining that the facility doubles as an excellent hospital. With that, he announces that the next matchups are about to be revealed. Back at the Hashin Group building, the vice director asks if they have secured other potential candidates besides Kang. The agent confirms they have. Kim looks at a screen and remarks that one fighter in particular seems to be the perfect choice. When the vice director asks who it is, the agent displays the profile of Kang's next opponent. Inside his recovery room, Kang jolts awake from the capsule, screaming for his mother. He looks down to see that his scars have completely healed. It wasn't a dream, he thinks. He definitely heard them. Kang remembers the man reading a report, stating that if the doping test yielded no results, his parents were to be eliminated. Overcome with desperation, he realizes he has to get out of there immediately. Meanwhile, in the Fighting War Director's office, he questions the man before him. You were the one who conducted the doping test on Kang Sun-woo, correct? The scientist reluctantly confirms it, adding that he found something unusual. When the director presses for details, the scientist explains that Kang's bone density is 10 times higher than a normal human's. The director is stunned. That's insane, he mutters. The scientist continues. That's not all. His recovery speed is so fast, it's practically regeneration. Utterly shocked, the director can barely speak. It was possible that a simple student held the key to discovering human regeneration. He really is special, the director comments, then asks if they are ensuring his parents' safety. The scientist hesitates before apologizing. When questioned, he explains that by the time his team arrived, someone had already taken action. Back in his room, Kang is restless. He quickly gets up, convinced that if he doesn't escape now, something terrible will happen to his parents. Furious, he scans the room but finds no obvious way out. His only hope is a ventilation duct. He yanks open the door to search the hallway. However, he is stopped short by the person standing in front of him. "You look much better," a girl says with a smile. She introduces herself as Cha Soon-jin, the same VIP from before. In a hurry, Kang tells her to get out of his way. She calmly advises him not to go looking for his parents, which immediately makes him suspicious. Cha Soon-jin then explains, "They're with me." Kang is completely shocked by her words. The scene shifts back to the Hashin Group building, inside Cha Soon-jin's office, where the vice director and Kim are meeting. The vice director asks if someone has already handled Kang's parents. Kim confirms that they have completely disappeared, speculating that the Fight Ward group likely acted first to deal with a potential problem before it could escalate. The vice director is pleased. "So, I got what I wanted without lifting a finger," he muses, relieved he didn't have to deal with the matter personally. He then asks about the arrangements for the next fighter. Kim assures him not to worry, as the Fight Ward VIPs themselves requested the match and have even granted permission to alter small details of the tournament. Kim adds that the VIPs are eager to watch the fight between the two monsters. He also notes that visiting the fighting ward is a bad idea for anyone who isn't a VIP, as it's far from safe. Back with Kang and Cha Soon-jin, the protagonist glares at her. "What did you do to my parents?" he demands. She quickly covers his mouth, warning him to lower his voice if he wants to keep his parents safe. The woman explains that running away won't solve anything, but Kang demands to know what she's talking about. She clarifies that her former employer, the second son Cha Yeon-woo, wants to erase any connection to Kang and has ordered his parents to be eliminated. To make matters worse, the loan sharks Kang recently took down are also hunting for him. She points out that she came without her security detail just to speak with him privately, urging him to listen carefully. Cha Soon-jian insists that she wants his parents to be safe too. Visibly irritated, Kang asks who she is and what she wants from him. She introduces herself as Cha Soon-jian and states that the only thing she's after is Kang Sun-woo himself. Confused, Kang asks her to explain. She reveals that she is one of the 16 VIPs and is in need of a trustworthy fighter. The revelation that she's a VIP leaves Kang completely stunned. Cha explains that while she may be new to the role, she's one of the owners of the Hashin Group. She then asks if he'd be more inclined to believe her if she told him she was the vice director's younger sister. She was banned from Hashin because of her idiot brother, but she was already planning to leave anyway. Since her own business is thriving, she doesn't really care. However, she refuses to stand by and let two lunatics destroy her father's company. Kang cuts in, asking what any of this has to do with his parents. She explains that she and her two idiot brothers were all watching him closely, especially the reckless second son. When she saw how hard Kang was fighting, she decided to learn more about him and ended up meeting his parents. Smiling, she tells him he turned out to be far more valuable than she ever expected. There was no way she could let her brother have him. She claims Kang has incredible genes and that's all that matters, a comment that leaves the protagonist utterly bewildered. He can't believe she just brought up his genetics. Changing the subject, Cha reminds him that the search for his parents hasn't stopped. Kang asks what he's supposed to do if leaving is so dangerous. She tells him there's only one path he can follow to ensure his parents' safety. He immediately asks what it is. The path, she says, is simple: victory. She plans to bet on him to become the champion of the fighting war, using the position to make a deal and take down her two older brothers. She specifies that the second son, Cha Yeon-woo, will rot in prison and become useless, no longer posing a threat. As for the loan sharks, she has more than enough money to handle them. Kang is skeptical, questioning what sense it makes to strike a deal in a secret place like this. She explains that within the fighting ward, anyone who breaks a fair deal is immediately expelled under its rules. He asks if she's seriously proposing a life-or-death deal right here. She replies that she isn't the only one who wants him there. Besides, any fighter who fails to stay within the top 16 is eliminated anyway. Kang demands proof that his parents are safe, pointing out that so far, all she's given him are words. Cha calmly states that phones and other devices are forbidden in the fighting ward, so she has absolutely no way of showing him anything. Her expression suddenly hardens. She asks if having a secret line of communication with his parents would be enough to earn his trust, especially considering what they reported about his genes in the past. Kang immediately demands to know what they said, but before she can answer, the door slides open. A guide drone hovers into the room. The girl quickly tells him to remember that she's risking her life for his father, so he doesn't need to run. The drone announces that it's time to leave. As he's being escorted out, she adds that he shouldn't mention their conversation to anyone, and that they should just focus on winning together. Her words leave Kang feeling pressured. Back in their quarters, Park was reviewing the latest prize rankings. Amanda had climbed to 19th place, with Park at 22nd, Kim at 28th, and Min-on at 45th. To Kim's surprise, Kang was ranked all the way down at 62nd. Kim figured it was because of his injury. No one would bet on a fighter who couldn't even compete. Just then, the door opens and the guide drone returns with Kang, announcing his arrival back in room 10. Park greets him cheerfully, remarking that he looks much better than expected and must have gotten plenty of rest, but his smile fades when he sees the furious look on Kang's face. Kang immediately asks how Park managed to win his fight without taking a single scratch. He explains that he absolutely has to reach the top 16 for his family's sake, shouting that he'll do whatever it takes and begging for his help. Kim watches on, stunned by this sudden outburst. Kang then asks if his goal is truly impossible. Suddenly, Amanda speaks up, telling him he needs to learn a special move. When Kang asks what she means, she explains that without a signature technique, it's difficult to keep up with the monsters in the fight ward. She then asks what his specialty is, but Kang has no answer. Park chimes in, suggesting he focus on calf kicks. He reminds Kang of his fight against Kai, where he effortlessly blocked a low kick from a trained fighter with his bare shin. That proves Kang can trust the durability of his shin bone. Park explains that calf kicks are becoming increasingly common and are highly effective for taking down opponents. He tells Kang to try one on the wall just to get a feel for it. Kang turns and unleashes a kick against the wall, creating a massive bang that echoes through the room. Park is left speechless by the sheer power and sound of the impact, muttering that Kang is a complete lunatic. Just then, a series of powerful thuds echoes from somewhere nearby. The source is Ichikario, Kang's next opponent, who is busy training by shadowboxing. Park explains that if Kang can knock out his opponent with a kick, his chances of winning subsequent fights by forfeit will increase, allowing him to advance to the next round without injury. Suddenly, Min-on appears right behind Kang, stating that none of that matters. Startled, Kang turns around as Min-on looks at Park and asks if he knows about Kang's secret finishing move. Park and Kang are stunned. This is news to them as well. Tapping Kang on the forehead, Menon reveals the finisher as a headbutt. He explains that during a previous fight, Kang repeatedly blocked and countered headbutts from an experienced Letwai fighter, walking away from the exchange completely unharmed. With a wild look in his eyes, Menon declares that Kang must have the most resistant skull he's ever seen. Park immediately objects, pointing out the immense damage a headbutt inflicts on the user. He argues that if Kang tries to headbutt the monsters in the fight ward, he'll die from brain damage before he can fight again. Menon finds this a strange concern. He reminds them that everyone who enters this place is already risking their life at every moment. The group is taken aback, but Menon's logic is chillingly simple. Anyone who hesitates or holds back against the top rankers is guaranteed to be crushed and killed. Realizing the madman is right, Park falls silent. Menon then asks if he shouldn't be more worried about something else. The redhead clarifies that he's talking about Park's next opponent, Han Min-soo, the powerful blonde fighter from the start of the tournament who holds the 9th rank. Meanwhile, in a restricted zone of the fight ward, the director looks on with some disappointment. He comments that Han's physical response to the doping regimen is concerning, but that bringing him here was still the right choice. He's speaking to a scientist in the room, referring to the man's son. The doctor, looking somber, thanks the bandaged director and bows, grateful for his generosity. He thinks to himself that it was the right thing to do, because there was no other way. A flashback begins. The doctor remembers coming home to find his son, Han Min-soo, completely emaciated and without a shred of muscle. He was a regular physician with no way to help his son, who was too weak to even stand. Just as he was losing all hope, he received a mysterious message from a place called the Crematory Hospital. When he arrived, he found an insane facility that seemed unreal. He saw men floating in water-filled tanks kept alive by breathing tubes. There was a list of renowned doctors and factories involved, but their reasons didn't matter. The moment the doctor saw the results of the doping tests being conducted there, he broke down in tears, realizing that this insane research might be his son's only chance. Just then, the director appeared and asked what he was doing. The director invited him to participate in the research, using his own son. For a moment, the doctor was shocked by the possibility, but with no other options, he made the agonizing choice to offer Han as a test subject. He immediately began running home to get him. He arrived to find Han trembling on a chair, a rope tied to the ceiling, ready to end his miserable life. The doctor stopped him just in time. In a heartbreaking scene, both father and son wept as Han begged to be put out of his misery. With nothing left to lose, the doctor chose to collaborate with Fight Ward. He constantly questions if it was the right decision, but he felt there was no other way. As a result of that choice, his son became an extremely powerful monster. Back in the present, the guide drone announces that Han can now enter the arena. The door opens and he steps inside to face Park, who is already waiting in the center. Park declares that the time has finally come, revealing his fighting style as Krav Maga. In response, Han takes a stance from a different martial art, Kali Arnis. The guide drone announces that the fight between Park and Han may now begin. With blinding speed, Han charges at Park, who has no time to react. Han thrusts his hand forward, piercing the older man's shoulder with a sharp finger strike. Park immediately grows concerned about the state of his right arm. Watching from the sidelines, Kang and the rest of Han's team are stunned by the attack's velocity. Min remarks that Park probably wasn't expecting piercing techniques in a match like this. Han tries to retract his hand, but finds he can't. Park is using his shoulder muscles to clamp down on his fingers, trapping him. With a grim look, Park gets Han's attention. "Don't you think you're a little too close?" he asks. Park then raises his open hand and swings it with overwhelming force, aiming a slap at Han's face. The blow only grazes him, but Han still has to dodge narrowly as the strike slams into the ground, shattering the arena floor. The sheer impact sends Han flying backward. As he regains his footing, Han wonders just who this old man is. Park speaks up, acknowledging Han's skill. "Piercing techniques in a fight like this? Unbelievable," he says. "I'll respond accordingly, with my own specialty." He holds up his hand, showing he can use the same finger-piercing strikes. In the observation room, the vice director is impressed. He asks Kim who Park is, to be able to fight a rank 9 so effortlessly. Kim explains that Park is a former bodyguard who specializes in Krav Maga. When the vice director asks about the martial art, Kim elaborates. He explains it was developed in the mid-20th century by a soldier to defend Jewish civilians from violent attacks. It was created by combining techniques from various martial arts and is known for its brutal efficiency in close-quarters combat. The vice director scoffs, questioning how a self-defense art could be so offensive. Kim clarifies that Krav Maga is an exception. Its method of self-defense is to kill the opponent by any means necessary. Back in the arena, the two fighters stare each other down, waiting for an opening. Park makes the first move, lunging forward and aiming a finger strike at Han's eyes. "Too slow," Han scoffs, easily dodging to the right. He immediately pivots to counterattack from Park's blind spot on the left. Park senses the danger but can't react in time. Han's strike connects with the left side of his head, shattering his glasses. By pure reflex, Park swings wildly, forcing Han to step back and create distance. "I'll catch you this time," Park shouts, charging forward again. Han thinks to himself that Park's body is disproportionately built for this kind of chase. It's useless. As if to prove him wrong, Park suddenly drops low and grabs the ground. "It's time," he declares, planting himself firmly. He then uses his arms to propel his entire body forward like a missile. Moving at an insane speed, Park slams into Han, who has no time to react and is sent crashing into the arena wall. With that, Han unleashes a furious barrage of blows from all directions. Park struggles, admitting to himself that he can't keep up with the kid's speed. Han finishes his sequence with a final precise series of scattered hits. From the sidelines, Kang, Min, and Amanda can only watch in worried shock as Park takes the punishment. Watching from the sidelines, Min mutters that this must be the strength of a rank 9, seeing no way for Park to win. Despite having 2 massive holes in his chest, Park remains on his feet, still in a fighting stance. Han acknowledges his opponent's impressive endurance. Han also notices that Park has abandoned his piercing techniques, judging by the way he holds his fists. But just then, Park's guard wavers for a split second. Seizing the opportunity, Han prepares to strike again, confident that even a grapple wouldn't save the older man now. He lunges forward, yelling for Park to die as he goes in for the final blow. The attack lands squarely, and Park is powerless to stop it. Immediately after the impact, however, Park presses his own fist against his stomach. Min exclaims that Park just hit himself in the solar plexus. Amanda quickly corrects him, explaining that Park wasn't aiming at himself but at the point of impact on his solar plexus. Back in the fight, the truth is revealed. Han's fingers were shattered by the blow. The realization sends a jolt of anger and worry through Han, who curses Park for being a crazy old man. Before he can react, Park surprises him with a powerful punch of his own. Han has no time to dodge. The fist connects squarely with Han's stomach, sending him flying across the room. The force of the blow is so immense that he crashes into the far wall, shattering it on impact. Han coughs up a spray of blood, severely weakened. Park knows that Han won't go down that easily. He needs to land another hit just like that one. However, the muscles in his right arm are visibly torn and damaged. Steeling himself, Park prepares for one last attack, knowing a single hit is all he needs. He puts everything he has left into a final charge, screaming that this will be his last strike. He desperately hopes for it to connect, but his body suddenly spasms, overwhelmed by his injuries. Kang shouts for him to hang on just a little longer. Park feels himself about to collapse as his vision darkens. He knows he's lost too much blood. His arm is completely unresponsive. He begins to apologize to his son, but catches himself, realizing he's admitting defeat. He forces himself to rally, muttering that it's not over yet. He has to keep going. When Park forces his eyes open, his blood runs cold. Han is standing directly in front of him, poised to strike. The young hunter smirks, explaining that his broken fingers don't matter. He's actually right-handed, and his right hand is his stronger one. Han then thrusts his right hand forward, landing a powerful blow to Park's chest. Kang screams in desperation. Park barely manages to raise a hand to defend himself, but the attack pierces straight through his palm and into his body. Han tells him that he admires his courage, but it was ultimately useless. With his long fingers, the strike has reached Park's heart. The old man makes one last, futile effort to fight back before his strength finally gives out. Park collapses to his knees, his body all but lifeless. Watching from the stands, Kang is frozen in shock, unable to process what just happened. Han Min-soo slowly looks up, his gaze locking onto Kang. A crazed smile spreads across Han's face as he shouts Kang's name. He tells the boy to watch carefully, claiming that the old man died simply because of Kang's bad luck. As he speaks, Han brutally yanks his fingers from Park's chest, sending a fresh wave of horror through Kang. His mind flashes back to a recent conversation with Park. The old man had remarked that Kang never seemed to get tired, and that he just wanted to rest for a bit and talk. Park had wistfully said that if he'd shared more moments like this with his own son, perhaps their relationship would have been better. Kang had then wondered aloud if a close bond with his own father would have felt like the one he shared with Park. Reassuringly, Park told him not to worry, insisting that Kang's father would never die and leave behind such a son. He added that, in the same way, he could never die and leave his own son behind. Back in the present, Park's body slumps to the ground, completely still. The guide drone's voice cuts through the silence, announcing Han Min-soo as the winner. With utter disrespect, Han plants his foot on the dead man's face and begins to laugh maniacally, declaring that this outcome was expected and that the entire situation is hilarious. Seeing this final act of desecration, something inside Kang snaps. His face contorts with pure rage as he leaps from the stands, moving too fast for his teammates to stop him. A satisfied smirk appears on Han's face as he mutters that this is exactly how things should be. Kang lands in the arena, coming to a stop directly in front of Han. The guide drones immediately go on high alert. From the stands, Min wonders why they aren't firing, quickly realizing they must only engage if an actual fight breaks out. The two opponents stare each other down, the air crackling with tension. Kang's voice is low and dangerous as he orders Han to get his damn foot off of Park. Han just scoffs, taunting him to come and make him move. In response, Kang drops into a fighting stance, and the guide drone's weapon systems lock onto him, ready to fire at the slightest provocation. Ignoring the threat, Kang lunges forward, throwing a punch while roaring for Han to move his foot. Han meets the attack with one of his own. Seeing the fight erupt, Min immediately rushes towards the arena, desperate to intervene. However, Min is stunned by what happens next. Before Kang can land his blow, Min Yoon appears and grabs him from behind, restraining his arms. Blind with fury, Kang screams at his teammate to let him go. Min Yoon simply tells him that if he wants to get himself killed, he should do it somewhere else. Despite Kang's desperate pleas to be released, Min Yoon swiftly throws him to the ground and locks his legs. Applying a chokehold, Min Yoon tells him to just go to sleep for now. Kang's vision begins to blur and fade, the last thing he sees being the silhouette of Han standing over him. As he loses consciousness, another memory of Park surfaces. The old man had asked him, if anything were to ever happen to him, to please take care of his son. He had hoped someone would be there to stop the boy from straying from the right path. In the flashback, Kang tells Park that of course he would, a response that seems to puzzle the older man. Kang explains that he still has so much to learn from Park, and that he'd need to become friends with his son anyway. He then asks if he can continue to be Park's student. Surprised by Kang's sincerity, Park jokes that the brat is already planning to take advantage of him even after he's gone. The memory fades, returning to the grim reality of the arena. Han still has his foot planted on Park's face, while Kang lies unconscious on the floor nearby, watched over by Min and Min Yoon. Han mockingly declares what a beautiful sight it is. Amanda steps in, telling Han that he's already gotten Kang's full attention and should leave now. She taunts him, asking if he's that desperate for more affection. Han immediately threatens her, asking if she wants to die too. Unfazed, Amanda points to the drone and lists his options. He could die for messing with it, or at the hands of the guide. With a sadistic glare, she adds a third option, being beaten to death by her. Realizing she's serious, Han quickly lifts his foot off Park and tells her to calm down. As he walks towards the exit, he vows to kill all of them later before disappearing through the door. Amanda immediately rushes to Park's side, confirming that, as she expected, he's still alive. She quickly calls for a stretcher, noting that his left hand saved his life. He must have used it to deflect the piercing blow away from any vital organs. Just then, Fight Ward staff rush in to provide medical assistance. Watching from the control room, the vice director remarks that Han Min-soo is a complete monster, wondering how he could possibly use his fingers like weapons. Kim explains that Han is on a special kind of doping that enhances his muscles, ligaments, and tendons to a monstrous degree, far beyond what regular strength enhancers can do. In essence, his body is just as uniquely functional as Kang's, as even his bones have been enhanced and strengthened. The vice director immediately suggests they should recruit Han, but Kim warns that it won't be easy, as Han is a fighter managed directly by the director himself. However, Kim reassures him not to worry, since Fight Ward still has plenty of other skilled fighters, including those in the upcoming round. The vice director asks if the next match features the girl who uses capoeira. When Kim confirms, the old man scoffs, asking if capoeira isn't just a dance. Kim clarifies that it only looks like a dance. He explains its origins during Portugal's colonization of Brazil, where slaves developed it as a way to defend themselves from brutal treatment. They disguised it as a dance so their overseers wouldn't realize they were secretly training to fight. He continues, explaining that the martial art has a dark history. After Brazil gained its independence, capoeira was used in many crimes and was even banned by the government. It's far from a simple practice. It's a dangerously effective fighting style. The scene shifts back to the arena, focusing on Amanda Groshi, the 19-year-old capoeirista. A drone announces that all players have entered. Amanda locks eyes with her opponent, Go Hyuk-soo, the rank 10 fighter known for practicing various martial arts. The drone announces that the match will now begin. Amanda immediately drops into the jinga, a fluid capoeira stance, while Go Hyuk-soo remains perfectly still. She takes this as a sign of disrespect, concluding that he's underestimating her since he hasn't even bothered to raise his guard. Deciding to seize the opportunity, Amanda lunges forward to land the first strike. But just as she closes the distance, a wide, crazed smile spreads across Go Hyuk-soo's face, and he finally prepares to make his move. Cha Yeon-woo was visibly impressed with Amanda's skills, but Go Hyuk-soo also caught his attention. Kim Min-seok explained that the young man had a background in MMA, but only rose to prominence after undergoing sensory doping, a procedure that drastically enhanced his vision. He became known by the nickname the 10-second fighter, a reputation that inflated his prize money. The name came from his relentless method of finishing every fight in 10 seconds or less. Upon hearing the explanation, Cha Yeon-woo's admiration grew. Kim Min-seok added that because of his quick fights, Go Hyuk-soo rarely got injured, which made betting on him extremely profitable and cumulative. Therefore, if he won the next match in the same fashion, besides securing a considerable sum, he would break into the top 5 of the fighter rankings. On top of all that, Go Hyuk-soo had a reputation to uphold. Next, the match between Go and Amanda began. Amanda noticed her opponent wasn't attacking and decided to end the fight quickly, unleashing her best strike. However, that was exactly what Go Hyuk-soo had been waiting for. He noted that his adversary attacked recklessly, and thanks to his enhanced vision, was able to identify her weak points. With that, Go Hyuk-soo grabbed Amanda's leg, believing that would be the end of the match. To his complete surprise, he was caught by a reversal and ended up face down on the ground. The fight did indeed end in 10 seconds, but this time, Go Hyuk-soo was the loser. Amanda was announced as the winner. She then declared that certain techniques can't be tracked by sensory means alone. From the VIP box, a shocked Cha Yeon-woo asked what had just happened. Kim Min-seok explained that Go's mistake was underestimating his opponent, and Amanda used that arrogance to her advantage to win. Cha Yeon-woo questioned if the natural reaction wouldn't be to dodge and then counterattack. Kim confirmed that was likely Go's line of thinking. He detailed that, normally, a kick with knockout power builds up energy on the side opposite the point of impact. If the first strike misses, there's no time to build up that energy again, which makes it difficult to launch an attack faster than the opponent's counter and reduces the kick's power. The situation is even worse if both feet are off the ground, as there's no supporting foot to compress and release the force. Cha Yeon-woo then observed that Amanda Grochi was in that exact situation, with both feet in the air and her first attack having failed. Kim agreed, explaining that was why Go Hyuk-soo had charged in so confidently. However, he made the mistake of ignoring a crucial detail about Amanda. Capoeira is a martial art that uses the arms to support the legs. Furthermore, Amanda Gracchi's doping didn't increase the size of her muscles, but rather their density. This makes her powerful and fast, without the movement limitations caused by bulky muscles. Amanda becomes a true fighting machine, capable of unleashing maximum power from any position at any moment. After the analysis, Cha Yan-woo commented that at least there was one decent fighter available. Kim, however, warned that it wouldn't be easy for him to get a fight right now. Everyone had just witnessed the first defeat of the 10-second fighter, and his undefeated reputation had been tarnished. Now, all the bettor's attention was on Amanda. Cha Yan-woo asked if Kim was going to give up. He replied that there was no need to rush, as there were still many fighters left. Just then, Cha Yan-woo noticed that the next combatant was from Sector 10. He predicted the match would be interesting, as that person would have no choice but to give it their all. Elsewhere, Kim Min-ho commented that someone was finally waking up. The camera focused on Kang Sun-woo, who was stirring, looking completely frightened and disoriented. Amanda arrived at the scene and, upon realizing the boy was alive, turned to Kim Min-ho. She reminded him that his match was coming up and asked if he shouldn't be warming up. Kim Min-ho replied that he knew what was coming, as his opponent was the real reason he was there. His mind flashed back to a past moment when a VIP client had handed him a card, saying that one day he would see his brother's tormentor eliminated in a match. Min-ho had asked how he would identify him, since the man didn't know the guy's name. The VIP simply informed him that his target was a former professional boxer, and that he would share more details in the future. Back in the present, Kim revealed that he now knew the target's name, Choi Won-woo, ranked 16th in boxing. In the VIP room, Cha Yan-woo expressed his interest in learning more about the top 5 fighters. Kim Min-seok began his explanation, introducing the 5th-ranked fighter, Rep, a system fighter and former Russian bodyguard. In his career, he had saved countless lives by eliminating threats targeting his clients, and he was also responsible for thwarting assassination attempts and planned accidents. It was during this time that Michael Lee, the CEO of the military supplier Pion, offered Rep a new identity and hired him as his personal bodyguard, entering him into the competitions shortly thereafter. In 4th place was Go Kyung-ho, a taekwondo practitioner associated with Han Sang-soo, the CEO of the RN Construction Company. Although he grew up admiring his father, a master at a taekwondo academy, Go Kyung-ho eventually strayed into the world of practical combat for unknown reasons. When Cha Yan-woo asked about taekwondo being a competitive martial art, Kim recalled an old documentary. In the film, various martial arts were compared. The capoeira kick was shown to be one of the most powerful, with a force equivalent to 800 kilograms. However, when a taekwondo practitioner was tested, his kick surpassed that mark, reaching an average of 1,000 kilograms of force. Kim pointed out that that martial artist didn't use doping, unlike Go Kyung-ho, who was the personification of chemical enhancement. According to him, no one had a kick as powerful as his. Kim moved on to the 3rd-ranked fighter, Ryan, who was backed by Go Yisu, the CEO of CT Bio, a pharmaceutical company specializing in doping. In addition to using drugs, the fighter had steel plates implanted in parts of his body. The continuous use of steroids had severely affected his mental state, making him known for his madness and unpredictability. 2nd place belonged to Matthew Lim, a fugitive hired by Park Dong-soo, known as the King of Troubles from Pine Life. Kim admitted it was surprising that someone like Park Dong-soo had a fighter in the top 2, especially since Matthew's past was almost a complete mystery. The only certainty was that he was a psychopath who used the tournament to have fun, eliminating opponents without the risk of being caught by the police. His fighting style was so brutal and unnatural that most of his victims didn't even understand what had happened before they were defeated. Cha Yan-woo commented that the man was a monster. Kim Min-seok, however, corrected him, stating that the real monster was the one ranked first. Before he could continue the introduction, the fighter himself appeared in the room, apologizing for not being able to control his strength. The man was Cam, a genuine mercenary. The sudden appearance startled Cha Yan-woo. Immediately, cameras surrounded the area, and another man approached, calling Cam an idiot. It was Cha Ik-hyun, the chairman of the Hoshin Group. He addressed Cha Yan-woo, questioning if he really believed he could defeat him by following him here. Cha Ik-hyun advised him to get used to the idea of leaving his own company, calling him a fool for betting everything on a high school kid. He stressed that a certified bet could not be broken, and that he couldn't wait to see the young fighter be defeated in front of everyone. After his rival left, Cha Yan-woo was visibly furious, but he decided not to focus on it, keeping faith in his victory. Kim, however, brought him back to reality, explaining that while the chances of one of the top 5 winning were high, they weren't guaranteed. The effects of doping were unpredictable, and after the 2nd round of use in the round of 16, some fighters could become unexpected contenders. Kim revealed that he was looking for exactly that type of competitor, and that at the moment, he had 5 names in mind. The first was Ichika Ryo, who would be facing Kang Seon-woo. Besides him, there were Amanda Grochi and the judo master Ju Woo Kang. The other two were rising stars in boxing, Kim Min-ho and Choi Won-woo, who were about to fight each other. The scene then shifted to the ring. Min-ho faced his opponent and asked directly if he knew the name Kim Min-sung. In response, Choi Won-woo claimed not to remember such a person. The denial awakened a visible fury in the young fighter. Consumed by fury, Kim Min-ho reflects that he gave up everything for this very moment. Facing his opponent, he lunges into the attack without any hesitation. He lands a clean first punch, followed by a devastating blow to the stomach that makes Choi Won-woo double over in agony. Without giving him time to recover, Min-ho presses the attack, and another blow sends his opponent flying across the ring. This was the only reason he was there. However, Choi Won-woo stops him, saying that's enough. He reveals that he let himself be hit on purpose, as he needed the blows to activate the effects of the substances he had taken. Now, ready to fight for real, he challenges Min-ho, curious to see if the young man can keep up with his new pace, or if he will be crushed by the advantage he now possesses. Kim Min-ho charges forward again, but this time he is brutally intercepted. Despite the blow, he uses his own agility to escape the flurry of attacks, a speed that surprises Choi Won-woo. In his mind, Min-ho believes he can match his rival's speed. Won-woo, however, disagrees with an arrogant smile, claiming to be far superior. To prove his point, he delivers another blow, unleashing tremendous force with his punches. The impact is so violent it hurls Kim Min-ho away. Choi Won-woo then openly taunts him, laughing at his state. He asks if Min-ho really believed he could beat him being so weak, and declares that someone like him doesn't even deserve the title of fighter. Amidst the humiliation, the words of his former coach echo in Kim Min-ho's mind. He remembers a crucial lesson. At the very moment a fight seems lost, there is always a chance for one last breath. One last push. Inspired by this memory, Min-ho moves and dodges Won-woo's next blow, positioning himself for a counterattack. His opponent's resilience irritates Choi Won-woo, who realizes he will need to be even faster to end the fight. However, it is Kim Min-ho who demonstrates superior speed. Driven by an overwhelming rage, his only thought is to defeat the man before him. To Choi Won-woo's despair, he is unable to dodge in time and is hit squarely by a devastating blow. The turnaround in the fight leaves even the VIP spectators impressed. Completely overcome by fury, Kim Min-ho declares that this isn't about victory or defeat, but about revenge. He then asks one last time if it was Choi Won-woo who eliminated his brother. In response, his opponent claims he didn't even know Kim Min-sung was dead. The unexpected declaration leaves Kim Min-ho utterly confused. Confused and irritated, Kim Min-ho asks what Choi Won-woo is talking about. Choi explains that it would be impossible for a boxer not to know the man who set the title defense record, but reiterates that he didn't know about his death. He adds, however, that there was a fighter obsessed with facing high-level pugilists. Furious, Kim Min-ho accuses Choi of contradicting himself. Before the argument could continue, an arena camera moves in, interrupting their conversation. An official announcement claims that Choi Won-woo is in no condition to proceed, proclaiming Kim Min-ho the winner of the fight. Meanwhile, in the VIP room, the observers comment on Kim Min-ho's second awakening, which occurred without any additional doping. To them, the experiment is finally showing results. They assess that, although Kim Min-ho is not on the same level as the first awakened one who transcended everything 20 years ago, he is very close to perfection. Even after the original individual's disappearance, advancements were made using his genetic material as a basis, making the task of surpassing him practically impossible. One of the VIPs laments that if that man hadn't disappeared, none of this would have happened and wonders where he could have gone. Far away, Kang Sun-woo practices some moves, imagining that he'll soon be in top shape to fight again. Menon watches him and asks if he isn't overdoing it, recalling that he has already caused a great deal of damage in the break room. He warns that if he keeps up this pace, he might cause the arena to collapse. In his thoughts, Kang Sun-woo refuses to stop, determined to become stronger than the monsters. He had learned that by pushing his body to its absolute limit and recovering, he could rebuild even stronger muscles, and the best form of recovery was sleep. His theory was that if he split the day in half, using every ounce of his muscles and then sleeping deeply twice, he could in fact become twice as strong as others. However, he knew that only someone with his incredible recovery ability would be capable of such a feat. Even so, by this point, Kang Sun-woo already thought that twice as strong wasn't enough. Menon asks if he's going to sleep again. In response, Kang Sun-woo simply removes the heavy weights he was wearing on his feet during training. Seeing this, Menon thinks that his colleague is a true madman, ready to die for his goal. Ignoring him, Kang Sun-woo continues his routine and enters the sleep chamber. Menon reflects that he trains intensely 3 times a day with almost no proper rest, but admits it will be extremely interesting to see him fight in the arena. At that moment, a tournament drone approaches and summons Menon to the arena. He realizes his turn has come. Upon entering the battlefield, he comes face to face with his opponent, Ju Ugwang. From her broadcast booth, Cha Yeon-woo asks if Ju Ugwang wasn't one of the 5 candidates selected by Kim Min-seok. He confirms and explains that with the power doping, Ju Ugwang acquired a monstrous grip strength. When he grabs an opponent, he's capable of crushing muscle and bone, which in itself is enough to make most lose the will to fight. Kim Min-seok warns, however, that the real terror lies in his judo techniques because no matter how strong the opponent is, once Ju Ugwang throws them to the ground, every bone in their body will break. Cha Yeon-woo then asks about Menon. Kim Min-seok replies that there is no information on him. He has only heard rumors that he was recruited directly from the Brawling Wing, but no one knows his origin or what martial art he uses. Furthermore, he hasn't seen any of Menon's fights and finds it strange that his doping status is still under review. Back in the arena, Menon waits for the match to begin. His opponent is also ready. As soon as the fight is authorized, Ju Ugwang declares that he won't stand on ceremony and intends to end things quickly. However, Menon surprises him, replying that he's not a big fan of words. In an instant, he moves behind his enemy and attempts an attack. However, Ju Ugwang shows quick reflexes and manages to reverse the assault, using Menon's own momentum against him. With a judo technique, Ju Ugwang hurls Menon violently to the ground. The impact is so strong that he crashes into the ground like a meteor, leaving the spectators stunned. The drones recording the fight captured the scene in minute detail, but the announced result shocks everyone. To everyone's surprise, the system declares Menon the winner, not his opponent. Confused, Cha Yeon-woo questions what happened, but not even Kim Min-seok can find an explanation. Oblivious to the confusion, Menon celebrates his victory and wonders about Kang Sun-woo's condition. Far away, the protagonist awakens from his rest. He feels his body is different and realizes that the intense training is finally paying off. Regardless of whether it worked or not, he knows the most important thing is to keep moving forward. His thoughts turn to his mother, wondering if she is okay. Unlike many competitors, Kang Sun-woo doesn't fight for his ego, but out of pure necessity. At that moment, he spots a tournament drone approaching and understands exactly what it means. Shortly after, he finds Kim Min-seok. Irritated, Kang demands to know what is going on. Kim tries to de-escalate the situation, arguing that if Kang dies there, all will be lost. Furious, the protagonist refuses to back down and demands answers, starting by asking about his parents' whereabouts. Kim Min-seok states succinctly that he is taking care of them, but Kang isn't convinced and insists on speaking with his family. Kim then reveals that they received a VIP request, but that he falsified the report on the disappearance of Kang's family to keep them safe. He confesses that he is betting everything on Kang, regardless of the doping, and guarantees that director Cha Yeon-woo will have no choice but to follow his plan. Kim Min-seok then asks him if he really believes that one of his agents was responsible for the incident. He asks who told him the story about his parents in the recovery room, pointing out that Cha Seung-yeon suddenly appeared at the exact moment Kang woke up with that information on his mind. Kim claims it was no mere coincidence, describing her as a woman who doesn't know the truth, to the point that the president himself kicked her out to protect his 2 sons. The protagonist is reluctant to believe it, stating that the woman he spoke with had concrete information about his parents. To prove his point, Kim Min-seok reveals irrefutable proof, a note that Kang's mother wrote on her own arm, meant for her son. In that same instant, Kang Sun-woo recognizes his mother's handwriting, but he still hesitates to trust him. Kim asks for just one chance to explain himself. He details that the VIP wanted to draw attention, so they created great anticipation for Kang's next opponent. Therefore, if Kang manages to win the next round, the VIP will no longer be able to ignore him, which will result in his parents' release. The protagonist then asks who his opponent is. In response, the next opponent, named Ichika Ryu, is summoned to enter the arena. Reflecting on what he'd heard, the protagonist questions the truth of Kim Min-seok's words. However, he quickly pushes those thoughts aside, as there's no time for distractions. A formidable opponent awaits him in the arena. Meanwhile, in the VIP booth, Cha Yeon-woo watches the fight. Beside him, another important figure also watches, waiting to be surprised. In the arena, the protagonist analyzes his opponent's stance and identifies an apparent vulnerability in his calf. Based on this, Kang attempts a quick kick, but to his surprise, the attack is effortlessly defended. In turn, Ichika Ryu not only blocks the blow, but also takes Kang down, slamming him into the arena floor. He then moves in to strike his fallen adversary, but the protagonist manages to dodge in time. Witnessing the scene, Cha Yeon-woo is impressed and praises Ichika Ryu's technique. Kim Min-seok explains that Ichika is a versatile fighter, not limited to stand-up combat, as he has also mastered ground fighting. Furthermore, he was trained to handle unconventional situations, facing opponents who didn't follow the rules, which made his body extremely resistant to any type of attack. Back in the fight, both combatants are on their feet again, which surprises Ichika Ryu. He hadn't expected Kang to get up after being thrown down with such force. However, the protagonist not only gets back up, but also goes on the attack, landing a precise punch on his opponent's forehead. He tries another strike, but Ichika Ryu dodges and responds with an immediate counterattack that knocks the protagonist back. However, Ichika Ryu notices something strange. He sees that Kang, even after being hit, displays an enigmatic smile. Interpreting the gesture as a sign of contempt, Ichika Ryu charges forward again, but in doing so, he gives Kang the opening he was waiting for. Ichika Ryu manages to grab Kang to immobilize him, but the protagonist surprises him with a savage bite to the leg. Enraged, Ichika Ryu reacts with a knee strike, followed by an elbow, and finishes by kicking Kang away. However, he realizes his kick has lost its power. The pain from the bite had weakened his leg. Ichika wonders if he's fighting some kind of animal. From the booth, Cha Yeon-woo asks what's happening. Kim Min-seok clarifies that Kang doesn't abide by any rules of combat, something his opponent has also just realized. Then, Ichika sees Kang move to grab his other leg and considers the action foolish. However, the protagonist surprises him with an agile capoeira kick, striking his opponent squarely. The technique brought to mind a conversation he'd had with Amanda. He had asked her to hit him with a capoeira kick. At first, Amanda had asked if he was mocking her martial art, but she ended up delivering the kick. Afterward, she'd wanted to know what Kang hoped to achieve by testing her skill like that. Back in the present, Kang was demonstrating the result of that experiment, proving he had copied Amanda's move just from being hit by it a single time. Ichika Ryu reacted by grabbing Kang's leg, intending to slam him to the ground. However, the attempt was thwarted by an immediate counterattack. Kang's kick sent Ichika flying, but his opponent didn't seem fazed. Inwardly, Kang felt his body moving exactly as he wished, confident that a single blow to the calf would be enough to end the fight. Ichika, for his part, recognized his mistake in underestimating his rival. He decided that, from that moment on, he would treat Kang not as a human, but as a wild animal, and he would be the hunter. Kang noticed the change in his opponent's demeanor and concluded he would need to be more assertive. Despite this, he couldn't dodge Ichika's next attack. Seizing the opening, Ichika unleashed a flurry of blows, convinced it would be the end of the fight for Kang. In the VIP booth, Cha Yeon-woo already considered the fight over. The woman in the other booth, however, disagreed, and she was right. Unexpectedly, Kang managed to counterattack, blocking Ichika's advance and hitting him with a powerful headbutt. The pain of the impact was immediate and left Ichika Ryu dazed, unable to follow his adversary's next move. In his mind, the conclusion was clear. He was facing a beast, because an ordinary man would no longer be standing. Even so, Ichika believed he could still win. He lunged forward again to grab Kang's leg, but only managed to tear a piece from the protagonist's pants as he deftly dodged aside. The move left Kang in a prime position to attack. With a precise kick, Kang broke the bone in Ichika Ryu's leg, destroying his stance. Desperate not to fall, Ichika clung to Kang and managed to land a powerful punch to his face. However, Kang's footing remained firm. Instead of retreating, he answered with another kick, breaking his opponent's other leg. No longer able to support himself, Ichika Ryu collapsed to the ground. Only then did Kang feel the delayed pain from the blow he had taken and, his body exhausted, he fell too. Shortly after the fight, a tournament drone approaches and announces that Ichika Ryu is unable to continue. As Kang remained conscious, he is declared the victor. The news leaves Cha Yeon-woo outraged, and she furiously questions how that could be possible. Kim, however, clarifies that contrary to appearances, Kang hadn't passed out, but was simply sleeping. In the VIP room, one of the sponsors laments Ichika Ryu's defeat, which cost him a considerable amount of money. He reflects that, with the 31 finalists decided, the top 16 would be chosen based on their prize money rankings. Kang, having been the last to qualify, still had a chance to enter this select group. Aware that Kang's VIP selection could be nullified, the man begins to consider the possibility of finding another fighter to sponsor. Meanwhile, Cha Yeon-woo asks her assistant for the net amount she can withdraw immediately. She states that if the problem is financial, she can simply increase the bet with more money. Her assistant warns her that she would be risking a fortune, but she doesn't seem to care about the risk. A new drone announcement informs them that the round of 16 is about to begin, summoning all participants to the arena. As the victorious fighters gather, Kim Min-ho notices Kang still asleep on the ground and thinks that someone should wake him up. On the main screen, the tournament host congratulates the winners and thanks the 16 VIPs for their attendance. He explains that the ranking for the round of 16 will be determined by the order of accumulated prize money. He then instructs the VIPs to place their final bets on the players with the highest potential return, giving them 30 seconds to do so. Cha Yeon-woo turns to her assistant and asks what the prize money difference is between Kang Se-yeon-woo and the competitor in 16th place. He informs her that the gap is 2 billion won and that this difference would likely increase in the final 10 seconds of betting. Without hesitation, she orders him to bet all the money he can withdraw on Kang Se-yeon-woo. The assistant alerts her that the amount comes to 4 billion won and that if Kang isn't selected, the loss will be devastating. He suggests that the best move would be to give up on Kang and bet on another fighter, but Cha Yeon-woo disagrees and reiterates the order. The man doesn't understand why she's willing to go so far, but his superior simply demands that he carry out the order, and quickly. The assistant argues that he has already spent a significant amount trying to block the other VIP's bets, and insists that this new strategy is a mistake. Cha Yeon-woo then asks for the current prize money rankings, but her assistant explains that the rankings were hidden the moment the 30-second countdown began. Given this, the VIP concludes that the only thing to do is wait for the official announcement. The host speaks again, announcing that he will reveal the rankings from 1st to 5th place. He lists Cam with 15,900 million won, Ryan with 12 billion, Go Gyeong-ho with 10.5 billion, Ref with 9 billion, and Material with 8 billion. The mention of this last name startles Kim Min-ho, as it means there was still a boxer left in the competition. The announcements continue. Kim Min-ho notes that Amanda has secured 7th place with a prize of 7,300 million won. The list continues to be revealed down to the 15th place competitor, leaving the VIPs in a state of great anxiety over the reveal of the final spot. Finally, the host announces the 16th place competitor, whose prize money is 4,600 million won. He reveals that the one who qualified is a street fighter named Gu Bancheol. Upon realizing that Kang was not selected, the VIP who had lost money earlier falls into despair. With the selection of the 16 finalists complete, it was confirmed that Kang Sun-woo was not among them. Because of this, one of Cha Yeon-woo's allies laments, saying that she'd bet all her money on the wrong person. In contrast, Cha Yeon-woo celebrates the situation, expressing her wish to see Cha Sung-yeon's expression at that moment. However, Kim Min-seok warns her, stating that the competition wasn't over yet. Shortly after, the host surprises everyone by announcing that there will be an additional round to select more participants. The news takes Cha Yeon-woo by surprise, as she didn't know such a rule existed. The host explains that, although the top 16 are already set, 4 more spots will be opened. To fill them, the remaining 15 fighters must face each other in a simultaneous battle until only 4 are left standing. He then instructs the 16 competitors who have already qualified to leave the arena. Meanwhile, Kim Min-ho approaches Kang Sun-woo, trying to wake him up. At that moment, a drone approaches and informs them that the next match is an individual contest, ordering Kim Min-ho to back away immediately. Min-ho realizes that even if he tried, he wouldn't be able to wake Kang. All he could do was hope his friend would wake up in time. After Min-ho leaves, the host announces that the arena will be modified for the next round. The fighting platform begins to be suspended in the air, and the dizzying height frightens some of the fighters. To increase the tension, the host warns that anyone who falls from the arena will not survive, as deadly traps have been installed around the entire perimeter of the pit below. Thus, in addition to fighting each other, the competitors would have to worry about not being thrown to their deaths. Kang Sun-woo, still unconscious, remains dangerously positioned near the edge of the arena, while the other fighters prepare for the start of the clash. Without further ado, the host signals for the battle to begin. Immediately, the fighters launch themselves at one another, fighting with the ferocity of those who know their lives are on the line. From the VIP room, the bald man watches with relief that, luckily for him, all the combatants are ignoring Kang Sun-woo's inert body. However, the woman beside him comments that this truce won't last long, and that for his own good, Kang needs to wake up as soon as possible. In the arena, the combat continues chaotically, and some fighters are already being thrown to their deaths in the pit. It isn't long before some competitors finally notice Kang Sun-woo. One of them decides it's better to eliminate the deadweight at once. However, as he approaches to attack, he is suddenly stopped by Kim Minho, who is desperately trying to wake Kang, shouting that he is in danger. With his intervention, however, Kim Minho ends up becoming a target himself and now has to worry about his own survival. Cornered by 3 opponents, Kim Minho struggles to dodge their blows, but his defense isn't enough to protect Kang. Just as one of them moves in to attack the unconscious man, Menon suddenly appears and intercepts him. Irritated by the interference, the competitor turns on Menon in retaliation. However, Kim Minho acts quickly to protect his new ally, striking the aggressor before he can reach him. Immediately, another opponent takes advantage of the opening and charges at Kim Minho. This time, it's Menon who returns the favor, intervening to free his companion from the imminent attack. After the brief confrontation, Menon asks ironically if Kim Minho wouldn't also like to take a nap. In response, he retorts sarcastically that he's suffering from insomnia. From that moment on, the two form an impromptu alliance to protect Kang Sun-woo. Observing the scene, the other competitors wonder why those two are fighting in such a coordinated fashion. The leader of the opposing group recognizes the situation as a problem, as his own team plans to be the only one to advance. With that in mind, they organize for the attack, deciding to eliminate the other competitors one by one. Kim Minho is chosen as the first target. He doesn't back down and manages to defend himself at first, but fighting 4 opponents at once puts him at a clear disadvantage. However, he isn't alone, as Menon appears to aid in his defense. The enemy's attention quickly turns to Menon, who also comes under attack. Kim Minho tries to help his temporary ally, but is immediately blocked. To his despair, the adversaries shift their focus once more and advance directly on the vulnerable Kang Sun-woo. Menon reacts at the last second, grabbing the enemy about to deliver the blow. The adversary's attack misses Kang by a split second, but the force of the impact is so devastating that it shatters part of the arena floor. With the sudden break in the platform, Kang Sun-woo plummets into the chasm that has opened up. Kim Minho tries to run to his aid, but is once again blocked by the other competitors. Satisfied, the enemies celebrate, declaring that there is now one less competitor in the running. Menon, however, corrects them, stating that they are mistaken. He reveals that Kang not only woke up, but also managed to avoid the fatal fall. Surprised, the adversaries decide to quickly eliminate the 2 remaining in the arena. However, coming from below, Kang Sun-woo is already advancing back onto the platform, ready to finally join the fight. The moment he steps onto the platform, Kang Sun-woo is immediately immobilized by one of his opponents. As a second enemy prepares to strike, Kang struggles to break free. Just as the attacker lunges, Kang uses the body of the man holding him as a shield, forcing a violent collision between the two. The impact leaves both opponents incapacitated on the ground. Witnessing the scene, Menon turns to the next enemy and warns him that his time is up. With impressive speed, he grabs the man, throws him into the air, and dives into a free fall, smashing him brutally against the ground. A small explosion of impact kicks up dust, revealing another adversary out of the fight. The last member of the group of 4 was holding Kim Minho hostage. Upon seeing Kang Sun-woo approaching, the man panics and begs for his life. He releases Kim Minho and tries desperately to flee, but his path is blocked by Han Min-soo. Showing no interest in fighting such an insignificant opponent, Min-soo simply tells him to get out of his sight. Freed from danger, Kim Minho questions why someone like Han Min-soo would be participating in this stage. Min-soo, with an air of superiority, thanks him for acknowledging his fame. However, before he can continue, a furious Kang Sun-woo charges at him. The two clash in a powerful impact, trading simultaneous blows. Min-soo declares that he won't lose just because he's injured, but Kang completely ignores his words. At that moment, broadcast drones approach, announcing the end of the contest. Kim Minho had taken advantage of the distraction to eliminate the last remaining opponent. With only 4 fighters left standing, the host declares them the winners. The result confirms a total of 20 participants for the next phase. The host, however, announces a break in the event. He informs them that the 16 VIP guests will now have the opportunity to meet with the players of their choice. Afterward, all competitors are directed to private rooms. Kang Sun-woo heads to a recovery chamber, where he is visited by Kim Min-seok. Kang states that he is willing to meet with any VIP, as long as it speeds up his recovery. Kim Min-seok explains that he can guarantee his exclusive support for a maximum of 3 hours. After that period, Kang would be at the mercy of the other VIP's choices. He stresses that both he and Cha Sung-yeon need Kang, but admits that, in the end, the priority is those who brought the young man's parents into the game. Meanwhile, in Cha Sung-yeon's room, his bald ally asks why they can't request a meeting with Kang Sun-woo. A drone promptly informs them that, for the next 3 hours, Kang will be busy in a meeting with someone else. The news only intensifies the man's desperation. This news throws Cha Seung-yeon's ally into despair. The drone reiterates that Kang Sun-woo cannot be contacted while he is busy, making the man even more frustrated that he can't speak to him before the next stage begins. In stark contrast, his VIP, Cha Seung-yeon, remains perfectly calm. Intrigued, he asks her the reason for her calmness. She simply replies that she's wearing her lucky tiara, and because of that, there's nothing to worry about. A short time later, a host congratulates the 20 remaining participants and summons them to the arena. He then announces the rules. The players will get first pick of the VIP they want to partner with for the championship. However, if the chosen VIP refuses the partnership, the player must return to the starting point and wait for a second round of choices. In the end, the 4 players who fail to form one of the 16 pairs will be immediately eliminated from the competition. Menon suggests that for lower-level players like them, the best strategy would be to choose the weakest-looking VIP. Kim Min-ho disagrees, arguing that the most influential VIPs will attract the majority of the fighters, and anyone not selected by them will have very little chance in the second round. Menon agrees with the analysis, explaining that the VIPs are too proud to accept players who have already been rejected by others. Kim Min-ho observes that the competitors are flocking to the most powerful VIPs, believing that the prize money is the only important factor. Menon, however, corrects his perception, stating that these people are thinking far beyond the fights. For them, it's about securing a position among the elite, guaranteeing the power to achieve any goal, not just the money. More importantly, they are assessing their future partner's ability to cover up the crimes they have already committed and those they still intend to commit. Shocked, Kim Min-ho calls the situation insane and proposes that, at the very least, their group of 4 should choose different VIPs. He reveals that he intends to partner with an investment firm called GDF. Amanda, in turn, announces that she will join the Jihan Group. Menon comments that her choice is excellent since Jihan is the largest corporation after the Hoshin Group, and Amanda's 8th place ranking gives her the freedom to go wherever she wants. Undecided about his own fate, Menon ponders aloud that perhaps Cha Yeon-woo would be a decent choice. Menon's suggestion surprises Kang Sun-woo. Noticing his reaction, Menon asks if he was already planning to choose Cha Yeon-woo, but Kang remains silent. Meanwhile, in the VIP's room, Cha Yeon-woo is furious to find that Kang is still in the competition. A man named Kim explains that when they hid Kang's body in the recovery room, he showed an astonishing recovery and a significant increase in muscle density. Kim muses that although his inability to be doped might prevent him from competing with the best, Kang's progress in the game has already given him a physique comparable to those who were successful with the first round of doping. This makes him, in fact, the most unpredictable fighter of all. Determined, Cha Yeon-woo declares that no matter what, he cannot allow Kang Sun-woo to partner with Cha Seung-yeon. Back in the arena, the host instructs the fighters to position themselves in front of the VIPs of their choice. Some competitors make their decisions immediately. Kim Min-ho, however, is focused on something else. He can't wait to face the last remaining boxer in the competition. Seeing that the first and second ranked players have already decided, Menon turns to Kang Sun-woo and asks what his choice will be. Kang walks toward the screen where the VIPs' images are displayed and stops directly in front of Cha Yeon-woo's. Seeing this, Cha Seung-yeon's ally becomes visibly worried. In his room, Cha Yeon-woo celebrates, imagining that his rival must be writhing with rage. Defying all expectations, however, Kang Sun-woo raises his middle finger to Cha Yeon-woo's image, declaring that he would never choose him. Cha Yeon-woo's expression turns to one of pure fury. Then Kang turns away and walks over to Cha Seung-yeon's image, revealing his true choice to everyone. A memory surfaces in Cha Yeon-woo's mind, the day she received a tiara from her mother. On that occasion, her mother instructed her to call it Seon-woo's headband, an object that would bring her comfort. She explained that the headband had belonged to someone with a personality as straightforward as Cha Yeon-woo's. Her mother recalled that when Seon-woo turned 6, they went to an amusement park for the first and last time. At the time, the family lived in hiding, with a constant fear of outdoor activities. This reclusive life caused fear to take deep root in her, making her sensitive to anything that might attract attention. At the park, however, little Seon-woo began to cry insistently, demanding the biggest and flashiest headband he could find. With her son's health more fragile than it is today, his mother couldn't refuse, fearing they might never have another opportunity like it. However, she was so nervous about being seen in public that when a large crowd formed, she ended up getting separated from Seon-woo. Fortunately, a short time later, the boy managed to find her. He had used the headband on her head as a beacon to guide himself back. For that reason, her mother gave the headband to Cha-yeon-woo, believing the object would guide her from that moment on toward a better future. Back in the present, Menon realizes his preferred VIP has already been chosen, forcing him to select another. Before making a decision, he decides to wait and see who Kim Min-ho will choose. Kim Min-ho's mind, in turn, returns to a moment in the past when he was introduced to the target of his revenge. A man explained to him that the subject was a fierce adversary of CEO Go Isu of the pharmaceutical giant CT Bio. He was promised that if he could capture a man named Ryan, regardless of the outcome, the sponsor would grant him any request. Kim Min-ho questioned the reason for such an effort. His ally revealed that the sponsor's daughter was addicted to an extremely potent painkiller manufactured by CT Bio, and for that reason, the man would do anything for whoever helped him. In the present, Kim Min-ho makes his choice and walks toward the image of CEO Jason. In a VIP room, an assistant reports that, as expected, Cam, the top-ranked fighter, has gone to Cha Ik-hyun, the senior managing director of the Hoshin Group. Hyun Ji-han, one of the VIPs, mutters that Cha Ik-hyun is an idiot. His assistant expresses doubt as to whether they will get the fighter they want, suggesting that other VIPs may have made better offers. Hyun Ji-han disagrees, confident. His eyes fix on Amanda, who chooses him, and he declares that capoeira has just become his new favorite martial art. Meanwhile, Menon realizes his options are dwindling rapidly. If he kept hesitating, he would end up with the worst available VIP. Unsure of who to choose, he decides to opt for a random selection and approaches Hwang Moo-hyuk, the CEO of a TV company. Menon considers the man a joke, but believes no one will be able to interfere with his survival strategy. To his surprise, two other fighters choose the same VIP, and he feels cornered. Realizing he'll need to change tactics, he goes to the VIP's booth to try and convince him in person. Surprisingly, Hwang Moo-hyuk turns out to be as eccentric as Menon and concludes that the fighter is a perfect fit to be sponsored by his company. Thus, Menon is officially chosen. From his booth, Kim celebrated, declaring that he had finally managed to defeat Min-soo. He explained that all he had to do was use Kang as bait. When Cha-yeon-woo asked how he had done it, Kim admitted it wasn't planned, as he had accidentally found Kang's name in some files related to Min-soo. From there, he discovered the relationship between the two and used one to find the other. Now, Kim believed it was only a matter of time before Kang became one of the top 5 fighters. Soon after, the host announced that all the VIPs had been chosen. With that, the 4 participants who failed to secure a sponsor were eliminated, leaving only 16 competitors in total. He then instructed all the fighters to wait with their VIPs until the start of the round of 16. In Cha-yeon-woo's booth, her ally commented that after everything they had been through, they were finally going to meet Kang, and just thinking about it made him feel awkward. At that moment, the protagonist appeared in the VIP room. Cha-yeon-woo observed that he seemed to be completely recovered. In turn, the protagonist approached the VIP and said he needed to thank her for helping his family. Cha-yeon-woo replied that there was no need for thanks, stating that Kang's parents were safe in a place far away from there. Furthermore, she claimed she was just investing in a strong fighter capable of winning the tournament in her name. Suddenly, the bald man asked Kang to let go of Cha-yeon-woo. The protagonist apologized, explaining that he just got excited when he saw his mother's tiara with her. Right after this moment, the host began to announce the next fights. The bald man then realized that Kang would fight against the third-ranked fighter, which meant their match would be very difficult. Cha-yeon-woo said that if they wanted to win, they first needed to take care of Kang's injuries. The bald man then asked why the protagonist seemed so calm about the situation. Cha-yeon-woo replied that he was confident and stated that this was exactly why she decided to bet on him. As they were talking, the host informed them that the matches would be random and announced the first fight, Cam versus Ricardo. The bald man got excited, saying he would finally see a match with the Gurkha mercenary. He also warned that since Kang would eventually face him, it was best to pay close attention to this fight. He continued, explaining that the mercenary group Cam was part of was among the top 3 in the world. Born and raised in the highest mountains on the planet, their cardiovascular endurance was far above average. Additionally, because they always trained on difficult terrain, they had energy to spare. These warriors were so renowned that they became one of Nepal's biggest exports. Right away, Cha-yeon-woo realized the extremely high level of difficulty they represented. However, the bald man pointed out that nothing he said seemed to scare Kang. Seeing this, the VIP smiled, saying she had bet on the right fighter and that she trusted the protagonist would do a good job. Even so, her bald ally remained visibly worried. In the arena, On one side was Cam, ranked 1st, and on the other, the jiu-jitsu practitioner Ricardo, ranked 12th. Hanji, Ricardo's sponsor, commented that many didn't believe in his fighter's victory due to the opponent's fame. However, his ally replied that Ricardo would soon surprise everyone. He believed that Cam had already suffered too much on his journey to first place, while Ricardo was unscathed, unlike his previous opponents. Before the match began, the host announced they would have a second round of doping. A syringe appeared in the middle of the arena, and Ricardo was the first to grab it. Upon injecting the substance into himself, he felt the effects immediately. A nearby drone noted that Ricardo had successfully administered the dose, and the fighter himself could already feel the difference in his body. With this newfound strength, he went on the attack, forcing his opponent to react and start the fight. Feeling invincible with the sudden speed boost, Ricardo faces his opponent as if he were nothing, claiming that Cam's high ranking means nothing. He then applies a lock on Cam's arm, which impresses his sponsor, who celebrates the victory prematurely. However, this turns out to be a huge mistake, as Cam is not yet defeated. Ricardo realizes his opponent's arm is recovering, even as he squeezes with all his might. Desperate, Ricardo thinks he needs to run, but he can't do it in time and ends up being thrown violently to the ground. Watching the scene from afar, the spectators are impressed. From the impact, Ricardo can no longer get up, and to his sponsor's despair, Cam is declared the winner of the fight. The host then announces that this match gave a glimpse of what's to come and informs them that he will administer a new amount of doping to the fighters for the upcoming matches. Shortly after, they all receive their doses. Unlike the others, however, the protagonist refuses to use the drug. Cha Yeon-woo comments that it wouldn't have an effect on Kang anyway, as her fighter is strong even without using anything. Confused, Kang asks what she's talking about, but before he can hear the answer, he hears screams from the other side of the arena. Kim Min-ho used the drug and felt its immediate effect, leaving his sponsor amazed, who claims that was exactly what the boy needed to win. After that, the host announces that the next fight will be between Mikel and Ryan, the second-ranked fighter. In turn, Kim Min-ho's sponsor tells the boy to analyze this fight carefully. He explains that Ryan received enormous amounts of the drug even before entering the combat ward, which permanently affected his brain. The sensory drug he used enhanced his ability to detect enemies, but the side effects affected his other senses, causing him to feel no pain. The sponsor recalls that Minho has faced an opponent with enhanced senses before, but the VIP's ally intervenes, saying that things will be different this time, as Ryan is very different from the previous opponent. The sponsor agrees that facing Ryan will be difficult and asks what the second drug he used was. His ally reveals that Ryan also used a speed-enhancing drug, which leaves Kim Min-ho visibly stunned. Back in the arena, Ryan faces his opponent, Mikel Dambe, who has also used a speed-enhancing drug. Ryan notices that his opponent's fist is bandaged and immediately thinks that Mikel must be gathering all his strength in his right fist. He concludes that this strategy is obvious, even to someone like him. As soon as the fight begins, Mikel focuses on his sole objective, to win and save his daughter. On the other side of the arena, an eager Ryan goes on the attack, but soon notices his opponent is faster. He concludes that the drugs Mikel took are taking effect, and not only that, he also realizes the opponent is using his left hand to defend himself while shielding all his vital points. Intrigued, Ryan decides to test how fast his opponent can defend himself and unleashes a series of relentless attacks. This offensive, however, leaves him vulnerable, to the point of being hit in the eyes by Mikel. In doing so, however, Mikel gets the worst of it, as his fingers bend from the impact. Even injured, he doesn't give up on attacking, and finally uses his right arm to deliver a powerful blow. It's at this moment that he realizes he's facing someone different, as Ryan not only managed to dodge the punch, but also mimicked the attack and injured Mikel's eyes in response. With his vision impaired, Mikel is left completely defenseless, and Ryan seizes the opportunity to attack without mercy. Mikel still thinks he can't lose and tries to stand firm, but to his sponsor's despair, he can't withstand the barrage of attacks. Shortly after, the drone announces that Mikel is unable to continue, declaring Ryan the grand victor of the match. Watching all this, Kim Min-ho realizes the magnitude of the challenge ahead of him. He imagines he wouldn't have been able to dodge Mikel's blow the same way Ryan did, let alone escape the attacks to the eyes. Despite this realization, he has no intention of backing down, and concludes that he will have to face Ryan at any cost. After the fight, the host announces that the next match will be between Go Gyeongho and Kang Sun-woo. The protagonist's sponsor was hoping he wouldn't be matched against someone using a strength drug, as she wanted Kang to win without getting hurt. However, the bald man next to her comments that most of the fighters who reach the top 16 have used these drugs, so such a confrontation was inevitable. Taking advantage of the moment, Cha Yeon-woo asks what the difference is between normal taekwondo and combat taekwondo. His ally explains that combat taekwondo uses the same skill set as the normal version. He details that this martial art was originally created for real combat, but underwent several changes to better fit competitions like the Olympics. To make it safer, many dangerous techniques were removed, so combat taekwondo is nothing more than the martial art in its original unrestricted form, where all the dangerous techniques are used. In the arena, Go Gyeongho prepares for the match. On the other side, the protagonist reflects that if he can defeat the third-ranked fighter, he will become one of the strongest and most respected fighters. Kang also concludes it would be better to take the fight to the ground, since he's dealing with a kicking specialist. As soon as the match is authorized, he rushes in to try and take down his opponent. However, Go Gyeongho manages to dodge the charge and quickly lands a precise kick on Kang. Despite feeling the intense pain from the blow, Kang manages to grab his opponent's leg. However, in doing so, he ends up taking another direct hit. Even after being hit squarely, the protagonist recovers quickly, knowing the fight isn't over for him yet. Instead of faltering, Kang surprises his opponent by counterattacking with a kick, making him wonder how he could still fight back after so many blows to the head. The protagonist continues to press with a sequence of rapid attacks until he is finally pushed to the other side of the arena. Impressed, the opponent acknowledges that Kang is, without a doubt, one of the strongest fighters there. Meanwhile, the protagonist's head was still ringing, and he was certain that one more blow would have knocked him down. Realizing he couldn't just charge forward recklessly, Kang concluded he needed to find another way to win. Remembering that Taekwondo doesn't normally allow low kicks, Kang devised a plan. On the enemy's next attack, he would aim for his lower body. With this strategy in mind, he approached his opponent, but this time with much more caution. Watching the approach, Go thought Kang was sorely mistaken if he thought he could win, as he hadn't yet used his full strength, and the fight would end as soon as he did. The moment Go threw a kick, Kang saw the perfect opportunity and tried to hit his opponent's other leg, but was caught off guard by a leg sweep. In the audience, Go's sponsor celebrated the advantage he had gained. One of Kang's allies explained that it was a leg sweep, an unusual move as it had been banned from official championships. However, since there were no such limitations in this fight, Go was taking full advantage. Meanwhile, in the other booth, Cha Yeon-woo watched the scene with concern. The bald man commented that Taekwondo kicks are as unpredictable as capoeiras, making the fight difficult even for someone like Kang Sun-woo. He added that although Taekwondo consumes a lot of energy and tires a fighter out quickly, Kang couldn't count on that advantage, as he was facing an opponent who had doped to the limit. Back in the arena, Go thought that for Kang's own good, he should give up right then, as he was about to be crushed by his full strength. The protagonist, on the other hand, felt a sharp pain and imagined his ankle had been nearly destroyed by the blow. Kang barely had time to recover, as his opponent was already advancing for another attack. Go's kick grazed him, but the protagonist couldn't see the next approach and was hit squarely. Even so, in an act of desperation, Kang tried to grab his opponent's legs once more, but just like before, Go immediately countered him. Thrown far away, Kang felt his consciousness fading, on the verge of passing out. The opponent noticed his condition and decided it was the best opportunity to end the fight. With a swift attack, Go closed in and landed a solid kick to Kang's abdomen. After the impact, the protagonist was overcome by a pain so intense it made him think this was his end. Kang reflected that in the past, he would always run away when feeling such unpleasant pain. However, he realized that if he lost now, all his effort up to that point would have been in vain. Gathering all his strength, he managed to counterattack his opponent. This blow was only enough to push Go back, who remained on his feet but felt the force of the impact. Realizing this, Go concluded that he would have no choice but to use all his strength as well. However, before he could do anything, Kang approached again. Go tried to defend himself from the charge, but was surprised when Kang bit his hand to stop him. In response, Go tried to counterattack with a kick, but the result was not what he expected. This time, Kang stood firm, managed to return the kick, and threw his opponent to the other side of the arena with the force of the impact. After getting up, Go realized there was something wrong with Kang. He noticed he was facing someone stronger than all the other monsters present and concluded he couldn't afford to save his energy. To defeat such an opponent, he would have to go all out, so go prepared a final kick, believing it would guarantee his victory. On the other side, Kang was also preparing to attack. The two opponents struck simultaneously and both hit their targets. However, Go got the worst of it, feeling the impact of the attack with much more intensity. Despite being hit, Kang was still going strong. He noticed the desperation on his opponent's face and laughed at him. Immediately after, he landed a headbutt on Go, putting a definitive end to the fight. The scene shocked everyone. Kang's sponsor was startled by the brutality of the blow, and Go Gyung-ho's sponsor was also shocked by the defeat. In any case, the drone announced Kang's victory, bringing the joy the bald man so desperately needed. Not just him, but Cha Yan-woo also celebrated the result. In contrast, other VIPs didn't like what they saw at all. One of them couldn't believe that someone not using doping could defeat the third-ranked fighter. Meanwhile, the masked man analyzed Kang's behavior pattern, finding it familiar to that of the first successful transformed individual, Kang-hun Choi. The masked man concludes that Kang-hun has been hiding all this time, likely changing his name and even having a son. Faced with this possibility, he orders his entire team to mobilize in the search for more answers. Far away, in a hidden dwelling, the protagonist's mother vents to her husband. She acknowledges that they both tried to hide their son from their enemies, but deeply regrets not being able to protect him, as they found him in the end. She feels their protection only served to delay the inevitable, and believes that the only chance of survival they have is if her husband finally wakes up. Back in the arena, Kang wakes up in the recovery room and realizes he lost control again. He reflects that if the fight had lasted any longer, he would have gone completely insane, and begins to wonder if he can maintain his sanity until the end of the tournament. At that moment, Cha Yun-woo approaches and asks if he has regained consciousness. She then reveals that Kang's mother told her everything about his condition, including the reason his father fled from that place. Cha Yun-woo continues, explaining that Kang's mother told her he used to lose control when he was younger. Her plan was to teach him how to survive using this fury when he got older, but since she never had the chance, she asked Cha Yun-woo to do it. The VIP then reveals a shocking secret. When that place was still new, Kang's father served as a test subject in the combat wing, where they used young and healthy people for experiments. Most did not survive the tests, but there were 3 survivors, and 2 of them were Kang's parents, a piece of information that leaves him completely surprised. Cha Yun-woo details that in the beginning, his mother had great achievements, but the side effects worsened over time. On the other hand, Kang's father gained extraordinary strength and an absolute healing power. This unique ability caught the attention of many important people, and it was because of this that he decided to flee the facility. The escape wasn't easy, as security was very tight, forcing them to wait for the right moment. During that time, Kang's father trained to maintain control even at the worst peaks of his fury, and eventually, they both managed to escape. Later, the two had Kang, and upon hearing this whole story, the protagonist finally understands why his father was so strict about using doping. Cha Yun-woo adds that Kang's father sent a message on the day of the accident. His mother believes the intention was to teach Kang how to control himself, as he realized he could no longer hide his son from their enemies. However, she also made it clear that she didn't want Kang to live in fear of his own fury. Then, Cha Yun-woo relays Kang's mother's direct advice. When the adrenaline rushes and he feels himself getting worked up, he needs to bite his own hand to hold back. The protagonist is shaken to learn everything his parents went through, but Cha Yun-woo encourages him, saying he has a chance to get out of that place. To do that, as difficult as it may be, he must not completely surrender to his fury, but instead learn to release it in other ways when necessary. She explains that his father used to strike his own heart with his eyes closed to control himself, but admits she doesn't know if it will work for Kang. The protagonist, in turn, states that there's only one way to find out. Cha Yun-woo warns him that if the method fails, there will be no way to contain his fury, but even aware of the risk, Kang decides to test his father's technique. Back in the VIP booth, the bald man watched the fight and was astonished by what he saw. In the arena, Luhan, a kung fu practitioner, was destroying everything, which made him think that these monsters were getting stronger and stronger. Shortly after, his boss, Cha Yun-woo, returned and asked how things were going. He reported that Luhan had just won, explaining that the fighter was already exceptional and that his complex movements were further enhanced by the doping. The bald man continued his report, mentioning that Han Min-soo had also reached the top. With each round, Min-soo became more aggressive, and all his opponents not only lost, but also left the arena badly injured. Because of this, he couldn't see a scenario where Kang Sun-woo could defeat all the fighters in the top 8. Then, remembering what he had discovered through Kang's mother, he asked if the young man was prepared to control his fury. Cha Yun-woo explained that Kang had struck his own chest to try and trigger his fury, but ended up passing out in the process. To the bald man, this meant that Kang's ability really took a heavy toll on his body. His boss agreed and said that all they could do was wait for the next round, as only then would they find out if Kang could use his fury to his advantage. Shortly after, the host announced that the next round would be between Lef, currently ranked 4th, and Kim Minho. Both fighters approached the arena while their sponsors waited anxiously for the match to begin. Michael Lee, Lef's sponsor, thought luck was on his side. After all, his fighter would be facing a child, which should guarantee an easy victory. Furthermore, his intention was to use Lef as a prototype to kickstart his investment in human weapons. On the other side, Jason, Kim Minho's sponsor, asked what exactly that system Lef used in combat was. His assistant explained that Lef used a martial art originating from Russia. Although it resembled Western martial arts, this technique also incorporated movements from Chinese arts, like Tai Chi. Rumor had it that scientists analyzed Chinese techniques and took the best of what they had to offer to incorporate into the Russian system. Jason didn't quite understand, but he knew one thing. Minho was facing a tough opponent, and if he got injured in this round, it would be difficult to win the next ones. In the arena, Kim Minho faced his opponent and noticed he was very relaxed, concluding that he was being underestimated. He also knew that Lef's endurance had been enhanced with doping, so if he took too long, the fight would be hard to win. Therefore, Minho decided the best way out was to end the fight with a knockout. He thought that despite facing a stronger opponent, he had speed on his side and believed that with a quick strike, his adversary wouldn't be able to dodge. However, Minho quickly realized he was wrong. Not only did he miss the punch, but he also took a counterattack. As he backed away, the young man tried to understand why he hadn't landed the blow and decided the best way to find out was to attack again. With that, he lunged towards Lef and tried to strike him once more, but his opponent dodged and countered again. Even as he tried to evade, Minho was struck again, but this time he felt the impact of the attack much more forcefully. After seeing Kim Minho get hit squarely, his sponsor despairs, unable to believe what he's seeing. Meanwhile, Minho tries to recover from the blow, and after moving away from his opponent, he lets out a faint laugh. Noticing the reaction, Lef wonders if Minho is trying to bluff, but concludes that laughing during a battle like this doesn't diminish the huge skill gap between them. Believing the boy has learned nothing, Lef prepares to attack again as Minho approaches once more. He dodges the blow and gets into position to counterattack, but at that moment, Minho discovers the truth. His opponent can't keep up with his speed. He was just sliding to dodge. With this realization, he manages to get Lef exactly where he wanted him and lands a direct hit, sending him flying. From the VIP booth, Jason celebrates the scene, but his assistant warns him that the fight isn't over yet. Indeed, Lef gets up and tries to keep fighting. However, Kim Minho approaches him and says he has no more time to waste on this fight, knocking Lef down with a simple push, which drives the Russian sponsor crazy. Shortly after, a drone announces that Lef can no longer continue, declaring Kim Minho the victor, who advances to the top 8. Jason celebrates once again, stating that he made the right choice, while his assistant believes that Minho is now ready to face Ryan. In another VIP booth, Jihan Hyeon, the leader of his country's second-largest corporation, says it's his fighter's turn to show her worth. His assistant notices that his boss is more excited than usual, and Jihan Hyeon justifies himself, saying he likes women with a fierce personality. The assistant then asks if he happens to be in love with Amanda. Despite acting like it, Jihan Hyeon denies it and states that they have more important things to worry about, as Amanda needs to live up to her title in this match. His ally agrees, claiming that a 10-second knockout will be difficult this time, since her opponent, besides being ranked 5th, is a former assassin who used a lot of doping. Next, the host announces the fight between Tarim and Amanda. Tarim speaks up and apologizes in advance, claiming that the only way he knows how to win is to completely eliminate his opponent. Confident, Amanda says she didn't understand the statement and thinks there's no way she can lose this fight. In response, Tarim claims she won't be able to talk nonsense anymore after the confrontation. When Tarim tries to attack her, to his surprise, Amanda not only dodges but also counterattacks with a powerful blow. The impact is so strong that her opponent can no longer feel his right hand. He believes this is bad, but thinks that as long as he has his legs, he'll be able to keep fighting. However, Amanda also attacks his legs, bringing him to the ground. Without giving him time to recover, she hits him with a capoeira move, pinning him to the ground with the strength of both her legs. Immobilizing her opponent, Amanda says that to defeat an adversary without eliminating them, you just just need to be stronger. With this display of power, Amanda secures her victory, much to the delight of her sponsor. Next, Menon realizes it's his turn to fight and declares that he will no longer hide his strength. The host then announces that he will face the Taekyon master named Yoon Go. In one of the booths, Jay Lore, the CEO of an oil company, expresses his happiness at seeing the master in such a healthy state. His assistant comments that Yoon Go doesn't even look like the same man who almost lost his legs in a car accident, considering it a miracle that he's even walking. Jay Lore claims to have done everything to repay Yoon Go, who almost died saving him in that accident. But now he questions if he did the right thing by putting the master back in an arena. Meanwhile, in another booth, Mu-Yun Huang wonders if the doping combination Menon used is really all that unique. His assistant explains that the analgesic drug isn't special, but no one besides Menon has received skin strengthening, which makes him unique in that regard. The sponsor is surprised that Menon hasn't used strength or speed doping so far, and is curious to see what comes next. Back in the arena, Menon faces his opponent and states that they are professionals who don't need a warm-up, wanting to start the fight immediately. In response, Yoon Go lands a kick on him and then tries to attack him again on the ground. However, Menon manages to defend against the attack and takes advantage of a loose piece of the arena floor, throwing the chunk of stone at his opponent. Yoon Go is narrowly missed, but he realizes the projectile could have eliminated him and wonders who this man in front of him is. Menon, in turn, says his opponent shouldn't go easy on him just because they're the same age, which makes the old man realize he's a jokester. Yoon Go replies that if they were indeed the same age, Menon would know how precious time is, and then goes on the attack. The charge results in both of them hitting each other simultaneously. Menon warns that he won't just stand there and take a beating and advances, but his opponent dodges and attempts a kick. Menon thinks it's easy to dodge, but the old man warns him that he dodged the wrong foot, a mistake that leads to Menon being hit. Seeing this, his sponsor goes wild and asks why a Taekyon master is using capoeira moves. His ally corrects him, explaining that it's not capoeira, but a move called an inverted double kick, in which both legs can attack or one can serve as a feint. Despite the blow, Menon says he's disappointed as he felt no pain. Yoon Go can't believe what he's hearing and attacks once more, landing a blow on his opponent's head. However, Menon remains steadfast, and it's the old man's hand that gets the worst of the impact. Menon then states that he would never lose a fight to an amateur, and launches himself like a missile at his opponent, leaving him incapacitated. With the old man unable to continue, the tournament's drone announces Menon as the winner. Shortly after, the host informs everyone that the top 8 have advanced to the next round. Finally, Menon approaches his defeated opponent and tells him not to be sad about the loss, stating that his advantage is having been in this world for 20 years. As the host introduced the 8 participants for the next phase, Cha Yeon-woo asked her companion who would be the best opponent for Kang in this round. The bald man replied that he had no one in mind, but began to analyze the adversaries. He noted that among them was Amanda, who defeated her opponents with a single blow, and also Kim Min-ho, the boxing genius, whose strength and speed were superhuman. Despite these talents, he considered Menon the most frightening of all, as the fighter had taken several powerful blows in his fights, but had never needed to visit the recovery room, something that couldn't be said for his opponents. At this, Cha Yeon-woo commented that the only one she hadn't seen fight yet was someone named Luhan. The bald man then stated that Luhan was, in fact, the worst possible opponent for Kang, as he was completely different from the others. He explained that Luhan's kung fu skills, combined with his strengthened body, made him seem like an alien. Furthermore, Luhan was second in the betting ranks, making him an adversary they should avoid at all costs. To the bald man's surprise, however, the host announced the very fight between Kang and Luhan. Cha Yeon-woo reacted by saying this was a stroke of luck, leaving her companion confused. She then clarified that this opponent would bring the biggest profit from the bets she had placed. Her assistant realized that the young lady was already counting on a victory, while the bald man was visibly nervous. In another VIP room, Sehun Kam, the CEO of a software company, was not at all pleased to have to face Cha Yeon-woo in the betting. His own assistant commented that the woman was quite brave with her bids, and Kam agreed, admitting that Cha Yeon-woo made him rethink just how strong Kang Sun-woo really was. Down in the arena, the protagonist faced his adversary, thinking that the best outcome would be to win without having to enter fury mode. With that in mind, he decided it was better to attack first to analyze just how good Luhan was. However, as he moved forward, the Kung Fu master defended against the attack with ease, and then delivered a monstrous counterattack, throwing the protagonist to the other side of the arena. Before Kang had a chance to retaliate, his opponent closed in at high speed and attacked him again, pinning him against the wall. A drone approached Kang, and Luhan asked aloud why he hadn't been announced as the victor yet. Looking closer at the protagonist, he realized that Kang was still awake and concluded that he would need to attack with more intensity. This time, however, it was Kang who attacked first, which made his adversary notice a sudden change in his behavior and strength. Luhan thought that he didn't need to go easy just because he was facing someone younger and attacked right after. However, the protagonist didn't just stand there and managed to find an opening to counterattack, landing a solid hit on his opponent. To Kang's surprise, Luhan managed to land softly on the ground, which made him wonder if his adversary was made of rubber. Luhan, in turn, thought that to defeat a beast, he would have to become a bigger beast. With that, he decided that from that moment on, he would use the tiger stance. Assuming a new stance, Luhan attacks and lands a direct hit on Kang. Caught by surprise, the protagonist thinks that he will still give his all to win. However, as he tries to attack his opponent, he realizes that Luhan not only dodges but also moves in a completely different way. Surprisingly, Kang is hit in the ear and wonders what his opponent is doing. In response, Luhan attacks intensely using the snake style, hitting the protagonist from several different directions. The bald man then reflects that Luhan traveled all over the country studying animals to imitate their styles, which makes fighting someone so well prepared extremely difficult. With this in mind, Kang decides he needs to take his opponent down. However, as he tries to do so, Luhan jumps using the monkey style and manages to counterattack with an aerial kick. Then, Luhan states that only those who follow the true form of nature understand martial arts at its peak and dashes towards Kang. The protagonist, however, was waiting for this and believes he just needs to unleash a bit of his fury to win. At that moment, Kang charges forward, making his opponent wonder what his intention was. Luhan tries to counterattack, but gets the worst of it when he is hit. As he backs away, he thinks that he was almost eliminated by such a strange blow, and that now he needs to dodge if he doesn't want to get seriously hurt. Despite his attempt to escape, Kang manages to grab his opponent and throws him to the ground as if he were nothing. Luhan notices the superhuman strength of Kang's grip and tries to break free, believing that it doesn't matter how strong Kang is, as his energy will sooner or later run out, creating an opening. To his surprise, the protagonist shows he has energy to spare. Realizing there's no way around the situation, Luhan freezes and becomes an easy target. After landing a direct hit on his opponent, Kang is the only one left standing. A drone approaches and declares him the winner. His sponsor celebrates, claiming that this is just the beginning. What's more, she won the bet and will now have Mr. Cam on her side. For his part, Cam is not happy at all about losing. His ally asks if he really intends to go against the Hoshin group, to which Cam replies that it's better than becoming an enemy of the combat wing. Then, he reveals that this wasn't the only bet he made. From his booth, the host analyzes Minsu and notices that he uses his own fingers as if they were knives, an unusual fighting technique. Intrigued, he asks how an ordinary student could have learned something like that. His assistant then explains that the young man, who was weak and suffered from a rare disease since childhood, had always been obsessed with strength. Unable to leave his home, he would spend sleepless nights watching MMA champions and studying their martial skills on video. Over time, just watching was no longer enough, and his desire became an obsession. He started to take an interest in weapon-based techniques, as he considered himself too weak to fight with his body alone. There was a time when Minsu locked himself in his room for days, without food or sleep, just to practice undisturbed. When he finally came out, he asked his father if someone capable of killing the strongest man in the world would be considered the truly strongest. The boy's father was terrified by the question, as he never imagined his son would become someone like that. Even so, he couldn't stop him, as this obsession was the only thing keeping him alive, a spark of hope amidst the illness. A short time later, there was no longer any need to stop him, as his son's body became so weak that he could no longer practice. It was in this moment of despair that Minsu was taken in by the ward. For the father, all that mattered was keeping his son alive, but now he sees that the boy has become an uncontrollable beast. Back in the arena, Minsu reflects that he can only fight because of the adrenaline he feels when facing an opponent, because without it, all that's left is pain. Therefore, he believes he needs to fight to completely eliminate his opponent, not just to win. With this thought, he attacks, using his fingers like blades. However, Amanda manages to defend herself with ease, though she notes the difference in her opponent's power. Minsu is in disbelief that his strike was blocked, and this brief distraction leaves him vulnerable. Amanda doesn't miss the opportunity and attacks him immediately. Minsu narrowly avoids a direct hit, but he doesn't escape unscathed, taking a grazing blow to his back. From the VIP booth, Amanda's sponsor celebrates the hit, but his assistant corrects him, saying that she missed. He explains that Amanda tried to end the fight with a knockout, but Han Minsu is still standing, something that had never happened before. This means that, this time, she will have a hard time winning. In the arena, Amanda has also realized her opponent's strength, and noticed that despite his precise movements, he doesn't seem like a trained fighter. On the other side, Han Min-soo says he is impressed that she can keep up with his pace. He confesses that he has never felt such a strong desire to eliminate someone and that he finally wants to experience that feeling. In response, Amanda strikes him hard and sends him to the ground. Min-soo recovers quickly and tries to hit her again with his blade-like fingers. Although Amanda dodges the first strike, he attacks with his other hand, claiming to be ambidextrous. Even so, she dodges once more and manages to counterattack, sending her opponent flying and drawing another cheer from her sponsor. Tired of taking so many hits, Han Min-soo decides to use a risky strategy. He takes a blow on purpose to create an opening, and with it, he manages to strike Amanda's foot, finally inflicting damage on her. With her foot injured, Amanda could barely stand, while Min-soo boasted about having cut her tendons and ligaments. To his surprise, however, she adapted quickly, using her hands to move and declaring that she only needed one arm to continue the fight. Right after, she unleashed an attack so powerful that Min-soo was unable to dodge it, leaving him astonished that she could generate so much force with just one of her arms. Knowing he couldn't keep taking hits like that, Min-soo tried to attack again, but Amanda managed to dodge. Despite this, he noticed she was already getting exhausted and concluded that he just needed to keep pressing until she finally gave in. For her part, Amanda thought that she had entered the competition to fight for her life, and also to discover her personal limits. Realizing this, she thanked her opponent for providing that opportunity. Amanda then revealed that she had found a reason to risk her life, and immediately after, activated her true strength. She stopped holding back and charged straight toward Min-soo. He believed he could dodge the attack, but was completely surprised by her speed, which was much greater than his. In the blink of an eye, Amanda managed to trap him with her legs and tried to crush his head. Min-soo still tried to strike her legs, but Amanda didn't allow it and threw him far away. Her sponsor began to celebrate the victory prematurely, but his assistant soon drew his attention to an important detail. The man then realized that Amanda had also been hit without even noticing. She was confused, as she hadn't noticed the moment she was attacked. On the other side of the arena, Min-soo was down, but still awake. He reflected that his mind was empty, and his body numb, a sensation he had experienced several times during his childhood. Remembering that he had to fight to get up in situations worse than that one, he gathered what was left of his strength and managed to get to his feet. On the other side, Amanda did the same. She also gathered all her remaining energy and stated that she would fight until her heart stopped beating. Amanda charges forward, concentrating all her remaining strength into a single blow. As he notices the charge, Min-soo feels a strange sensation and wonders if it could be fear. Without hesitation, his opponent strikes him squarely, throwing him violently against the arena wall. Min-soo is extremely weakened by the impact, but he didn't go down without firing one last shot. Immediately after, Amanda realizes she was hit during her attack, and having completely exhausted her energy, she also collapses to the ground, leaving her sponsor in despair. With both fighters down, no one knew who had won, so victory would be decided by whoever stood up first. A drone approaches the arena and records the exact moment Han Min-soo regains consciousness. With that, victory is declared for him, and Min-soo advances to the top 4 of the tournament. From her booth, Cha Yeon-woo celebrates the result. However, her assistant expresses concern, saying that since her rival won, the others are likely to side with him. Cha Yeon-woo disagrees with this statement, claiming that, in fact, it's more likely that she will gain the support of the others. Meanwhile, Amanda's sponsor, unable to hide his anger, orders his assistant to arrange for her treatment immediately. Right after this scene, the host announces the next round. The long-awaited fight between Ryan and Kim Min-ho was finally going to happen. Jason realizes that this was the moment the boy had been waiting for. His assistant comments that if they win this fight, they will finally have the opportunity to stop the production and sale of the drug that killed Jason's daughter. The CEO confirms that he has risked everything on this bet, and if he loses, he will have to invest his entire fortune in a pharmaceutical company he despises. Even aware of the risks, he states that he has no other choice and that he needs the boy to win this fight. Now in the arena, Ryan faces his opponent and dismisses him as just another idiot boxer. He reflects that while some use science and technology, others scorn this path because they think they are superior. Ryan has come to the conclusion that if the others cannot understand the power he wields, he will have to show them firsthand, even if it means eliminating them with his own hands. Throughout his journey, he has already eliminated several opponents this way, but this has only served to increase his craving for more power. When this feeling was becoming unbearable, the opportunity to enter this tournament arose. Ryan knows that Min-ho is the brother of a fighter he has already eliminated, and he finds the idea of fighting him quite exciting. In turn, Kim Min-ho calls his opponent pathetic. He claims that even with doping, Ryan had to ambush an already injured fighter to win, so he shouldn't think he's so powerful. To finish, Minho promises that he will now show him what true strength is. Irritated by the comment, Ryan taunts him, saying that Minho's brother said something similar before he died. Thirsty for revenge, Kim Minho immediately goes on the attack. However, they both land punches simultaneously and end up realizing they have similar strength and speed. Even so, Minho continues the offensive, but to his surprise, with every blow he throws, his opponent manages to dodge. Meanwhile, Isugo, the CEO of the pharmaceutical company that sponsors Ryan, watches the fight and comments that Minho's famous speed seems to be nothing special. His assistant then explains that Ryan is using his enhanced senses to read his opponent's movements in advance, which prevents him from being hit. Back in the arena, Ryan scoffs, saying that his adversary's movements are so predictable that it makes the job easier than usual. In turn, Minho replies that his next move won't be so easy to predict. He increases his speed and attacks again, but Ryan manages to defend himself with ease. Furthermore, he traps Minho's foot, knocking him to the ground, and asks what he plans to do now that he's immobilized. However, Minho says his opponent should step on his foot harder, as he's just getting started. With that, he launches a counterattack that surprises his opponent. Minho moves so fast that Ryan can't predict all his movements in time. Realizing he needs to create a new opening, Ryan tries to back away to create some distance, but Minho doesn't let him get far and lands a clean punch. Ryan also manages to hit Minho, and the impact of the double blow sends them both flying back. As he recovers, Ryan taunts him again, saying that Minho is just like his brother. Minho doesn't fall for the taunt, and instead analyzes that Ryan needs to get hit in order to attack. He explains that his opponent's tactic is to let himself be attacked in order to counter, since he can't keep up with his speed. Ryan retorts, stating that speed makes no difference because his blows are heavier. Minho disagrees, claiming that his greatest weapon isn't speed but his willpower. He attacks and once again is counterattacked. However, this time, he manages to hit Ryan's eye. Next, he lands a punch on his opponent's ear. Soon, Ryan realizes he is losing his senses, which hinders his perception. Minho's next blow hits his opponent square in the nose. It becomes clear that this is all part of a plan. Previously, an ally of Minho's had warned him that Ryan had keen sight, hearing, and smell. To defeat him, Kim Minho would need to eliminate that advantage, and that's exactly what he is doing right now. With his opponent in his sights, he doesn't hold back his strength. Ryan panics as he realizes he can no longer dodge the attacks and is hit squarely, unable to counterattack this time. Ryan thinks he had the courage to do what was necessary to get stronger, so a worm like that shouldn't be able to defeat him. However, he is overcome by the feeling that, in this context, he is the real worm. After being struck, Ryan can no longer feel his own body. On the other side, Kim Minho decides there's no reason to save his energy now, as all he needs to do is hit his opponent with all his strength to make his brother proud. With that in mind, he attacks Ryan with a machine gun-like barrage of punches, to the point where his opponent begs for mercy. Everyone in the audience is shocked to witness the scene. Ryan is left completely unable to continue, and therefore the victory is given to Kim Minho. He, in turn, dedicates this victory to his brother. His ally then comments that with this result, it's possible that Kim Minho will become the strongest man alive. Meanwhile, the host appears to announce the next fight. He says this is a highly anticipated battle, as on one side we have Menon, a survivor of countless dopings, and on the other, we have Cam, the embodiment of the industry's latest enhancements. His assistant asks how long Cam has been at the facility, and the host replies that he's been there since the beginning. He mentions that 3 people survived the first tests, and Menon is one of them. In the arena, the opponents face each other. Cam comments that Menon wasn't in the championship he won, so he's quite curious about how resilient his opponent is. Right after, he lands a direct hit on Menon, but to his surprise, his opponent remains standing, demonstrating impressive resilience. Then, Menon warns that it's his turn to attack. The blow is so powerful it damages Cam's back, even though it only landed on his front. Unfortunately for him, Cam is not as resilient as Menon and feels the pain of the impact sharply. Menon then asks if he has proven his worth. In response, Cam starts to laugh, claiming that his opponent wouldn't be able to take another one of his punches. Immediately, he charges at Menon with much more force and speed. Khan charges at his opponent and lands a devastating punch right in the middle of Menon's face. The impact is so powerful that his neck twists in a horrifying way, shocking the entire audience watching the fight. Then, Kan reveals that he should thank Menon, as the experiments performed on him served as the basis for creating superhumans like Kan himself. However, to everyone's surprise, Menon shows he is still alive and says that he is the one who should be thankful. He explains that thanks to his opponent, he will finally have the opportunity to unleash his strength at will. With that said, Menon attacks without holding back, and the blow makes Kan feel immense pain. The attack is so powerful that it incapacitates him, leaving the audience in shock at the fight's sudden end. Shortly after, a drone approaches and confirms Menon's victory. Menon's sponsor celebrates the victory enthusiastically, and he's not the only one, as Cha Yan-woo also celebrates. He believes that defeating an opponent like Menon will be easy for his fighter. However, Kim disagrees with this assessment, claiming that Menon is unpredictable and that it's not easy to predict his movements. Later, in the recovery room, Menon is examined by a doctor. The doctor reveals that his body has developed an incredible regeneration ability. Upon hearing this, the event host states that their dream is finally close to being realized. However, Menon disagrees and claims that another person has a regeneration ability far superior to his, obviously referring to the protagonist. Speaking of Kang, he is in his VIP room with company. The bald man comments that, to everyone's surprise, the fighters who advanced to the next round were, in theory, the weakest. He also laments that Usyk and Amanda lost to the same opponent. Worried, Kang asks if they at least managed to leave the place safely. The woman replies that according to her information, no participant has been seen leaving the facility after losing. Hearing this, the protagonist gets angry about not knowing his companion's whereabouts, little imagining the dark secrets that the facility hides. Back in the arena, the host announces the participants for the next fight, Han Min-soo versus Kang Sun-woo. He informs them that the match will begin as soon as both fighters are fully recovered. Meanwhile, Han Min-soo is intubated after his last fight. Although he is unconscious, he can remember his past. He recalls that as soon as he became a martial master, he thought he should start hanging out with strong people, the kind no bully would dare to face. Back then, there was only one person in his school with that reputation, Kang Sun-woo himself. Han Min-soo believed that Kang wouldn't pity him like the others, and imagined that as soon as he saw his combat notes, he would realize his true value. His theory was strengthened when a bully approached Kang and called him out, but was completely ignored, which left Han Min-soo very satisfied. A while later, he left his notebook on Kang's desk, but didn't have the courage to approach him directly, so he just watched him from a distance. The next day, he finally worked up the courage to speak to Kang, but found his notebook lying on the floor. Thinking that Kang had lost the item, Han Min-soo saw this as the perfect chance to find him and start a conversation about it. Shortly after, he found the protagonist in the courtyard, surrounded by bullies. Han Min-soo waited for Kang to get rid of them, and then approached him, asking if he hadn't missed the notebook. However, he was ignored in the same way as the worms he so despised. Not knowing where to hide his face, Han Min-soo tried to run as far away as possible, but to make matters worse, he ended up falling to the ground, which only increased his shame. Back in the present, he thinks that in the past, he wanted to die after that event. Now, however, he believes that the one who should die is not him, but the person who ignored him. Moments later, in the arena, the two face each other for the first time. Han Min-soo declares that he will show Kang the mistake he made by rejecting his notebook, and, immediately after, attacks using his blade hands. Kang manages to dodge, but is grazed. Seeing this, the opponent attacks with more precision and hits him in several different spots. In response, the protagonist uses his own blood to try to blind his opponent, but Min-soo just says that Kang can try, but he won't be able to escape forever. At this, Kang realizes that his opponent, besides being fast, is also aiming precisely at his vital points, so he needs to avoid this at all costs. However, Min-soo is faster than Kang, to the point of attacking without Kang being able to defend himself properly. With this, Min-soo says he can't believe he was humiliated by someone so weak. Seeing he has no other alternative, Kang prepares to resort to his most extreme measure. Han Min-soo doesn't understand what is happening, but states that he is facing someone worse than the so-called Usyk, because for him, nothing Kang does will prevent his victory. To everyone's surprise, the protagonist strikes himself, and Han Min-soo takes advantage of the opening to hit him next. He scoffs, saying that Kang tried to aim for him but ended up hitting his own heart. However, what Han Min-soo doesn't know is that the blow was entirely intentional. For a brief moment, he is startled by the turn of events, but he soon concludes that he won't have any trouble if he keeps attacking. However, when he advances, Kang defends himself from the attacks and, with surprising strength, shatters his opponent's left hand. Han Min-soo is frightened by the pain and the loss of his limb, but claims the fight isn't over, as he still has his other hand. Unfortunately for him, Kang also manages to trap his remaining hand. The protagonist then reveals that he learned this technique from Usyk, the same man his opponent had previously mocked. Next, he hits Han Min-soo with a powerful blow that breaks his right leg. Desperate, the opponent tries a final move, but Kang states that he should have given up when he had the chance, and, with a counterattack, throws his opponent to the ground, in a rather unpleasant scene for those watching. Fallen and defeated, Han Min-soo uses his last bit of energy to send a message. He tells Kang that they are both losers with no friends, but that unlike him, Han Min-soo didn't play house with anyone. He then asks how Kang feels about losing his first friends. The protagonist replies that he hasn't lost them, as he will see each of them again. With a cruel smile, Han Min-soo states that the only person who leaves that place alive is the champion, and says that Kang is naive for believing it's a simple place of entertainment. Desperate over the revelation, the protagonist tries to get more answers. However, Han Min-soo just says they are lab rats before passing out completely. Shortly after, a drone approaches and declares Kang Sun-woo the winner of the fight, but for the protagonist there is no sense of victory. In any case, the host announces that the next fight will decide who will face Kang in the grand final. On one side of the ring, the speedster Kim Min-ho faces Menon, the fighter with an indestructible body. Menon, in turn, says that this fight will decide who his best opponent will be, whether Kim Min-ho or Kang Sun-woo. He then approaches his opponent, but Min-ho quickly backs away, already analyzing the situation. Right away, he realizes he's not facing a normal fighter, but a madman poisoned by so much doping. Not only that, but Min-ho has also realized that Menon is the type who is willing to eliminate an opponent if necessary. Menon declares that in this place, there is no giving up or surrendering, so one of them will have to fall. He confidently states that, unfortunately for his opponents, his body is indestructible. In response, Minho asks if his opponent is celebrating too soon, but Menon simply claims that his triumph is inevitable. Disagreeing, Kim Minho says he will prove just how wrong his opponent is, and then attacks with impressive speed. Menon manages to dodge and tries to grab Kim's hand, but with the same agility, Minho escapes and gets behind his enemy, where he manages to land a blow. The impact makes Menon realize just how fast his opponent is. He tries to counterattack, but is surprised again, and is struck once more. At that moment, he realizes that Minho is the fastest opponent he has ever faced. Meanwhile, Minho thinks that the best thing to do is to hit his opponent's head to disorient him. He launches another attack, but this time Menon dodges. When Kim tries to hit him again, he is nearly struck himself, and then he realizes that his adversary is adapting to his speed. Not only that, but he sees Menon's arms contort in a bizarre way and wonders what's wrong with that guy. To his surprise, his opponent's arms return to normal in a matter of seconds. With this, Kim understands that Menon purposely broke his own arms to use them as weapons, and then managed to put them back in place as if it were nothing. On the other side, Menon says his opponent is as good as he imagined, and that to defeat him, he will have to use a little more of his power. Then, he undergoes a physical transformation, looking like a Saiyan. Seeing this, Kim concludes that he can no longer conserve energy and needs to give it his all to end the fight with his next blow. He then shoots forward like a missile and appears behind his enemy. This time, Menon isn't surprised and waits for the attack, which allows him to get close enough to strike Kim as well. They both attack simultaneously, and their blows collide. The force of the impact is so great that they are thrown in opposite directions, leaving their sponsors frightened. Moments later, Kim Minho gets up, leading Jason to think his boy has won, but his ally corrects him, saying it's not over yet. Shortly after, Menon also gets up, much to the delight of his sponsor. He approaches Kim and thanks him for all the information he learned by observing him, claiming it will be useful in creating a new human race. With that, he pushes Kim to the ground, and since he's exhausted, Kim can't get up. A drone approaches and declares Menon the winner, stating that the final will be between him and Kang Sun-woo. In the VIP booth, Cha Yun-woo reflects that the grand final has arrived and hopes Kang will focus on winning. Soon after, the protagonist approaches and asks what she knows about his friends. Cha Yun-woo explains that, like him, she doesn't know much about the place, but she is aware that there are areas not even the VIPs can access. Desperate, Kang wants to know more, but she warns him that if he dies there, he will never see his parents again. Therefore, she believes the best thing to do is to win the next fight so they can take action. Kang dislikes this option and insists, wanting to at least know if his friends are still alive. Cha Yun-woo says she will likely find out soon, as she has scheduled a meeting with other VIPs to discuss the matter. However, while she gathers the answers, Kang must focus solely on winning. Far away, in the medical wing, Menon is being examined by a doctor who notices that his regeneration is faster than before. Just then, the host approaches and comments that the project is nearing completion, but to finish it, they still need to find Kang Sun-woo's father. At that very moment, an employee reports that they have located Kang's parents, revealing they are hiding in Cha Yun-woo's private villa. The host realizes that they were hiding right under his nose the entire time. The employee confirms that the location has been surrounded and that their teams are about to move in. Indeed, a group of intruders breaks down the door of the house, startling Kang's mother, who is caught by surprise. As this happens, the host announces the next fight and authorizes the start of the tournament final. In the arena, the protagonist thinks that he just needs to win this last round to get what he wants. On the other side, Menon plans to draw out Kang's full potential to finally end the experiment, and to do so, he will have to eliminate his opponent. Kang questions him about what he meant by ending the experiment. Menon then reveals that, from the first time he saw him, he knew whose son he was, as he noticed that Kang had inherited his father's DNA. The protagonist doesn't understand how that would be possible, but Menon claims it was an easy task. After all, he was the one who dragged Kang's parents to that place, and that's why he knows them very well. Hearing this confession makes the protagonist lose control, which is exactly what Menon wanted from the beginning. To face Kang in his state of fury, he continues to taunt him, saying that soon Kang's parents will be brought to the arena, and he can die together with his family. Completely furious, Kang intercepts the enemy's attack with his own forehead and declares that if his opponent wants to test his true strength, he will deliver exactly what was asked for. He then lands a devastating kick on Menon's abdomen, not only knocking him down but also sinking him into the ground. The force of the impact is so great that the arena floor shatters and the host watches in shock as Menon is about to fall into the spike pit that lies just below. Despite the fall, Menon doesn't give up easily. He manages to find a way to climb back into the arena and returns to the fight at full steam, claiming that if this is all Kang has to offer, then he truly deserves to die. Next, Menon attacks using his elastic arm, and upon being hit, the protagonist is severely injured, almost losing his right arm. Seeing this, Menon states that with Kang's father available, he will no longer need the son, and with that in mind, he attacks again, hitting the protagonist squarely. The scene is quite unpleasant for Cha Yun-woo, who watches everything from a distance. Menon approaches Kang and tells him not to be sad, as he will soon meet his family in the afterlife. However, to his opponent's surprise, the protagonist reacts. Kang firmly grabs his opponent's arm and asks what he has against his family. Then, he lifts Menon high into the air and throws him to the ground as if he were nothing, questioning if he is doing all of this just for money. While being beaten, Menon claims that he is the final result of this experiment. He manages to get away from the protagonist and declares that, from that moment on, he will no longer hold back. Now that the two are fighting for real, the winner will be the strongest of all. Confident, Menon charges forward, shouting that it's too late for Kang to dodge. In turn, the protagonist states that he doesn't need to. Once again, Kang protects himself using his own head, and the impact causes Menon's arm to shatter into several pieces. Next, Kang grabs his enemy and gives him a solid headbutt. To finish him off, he throws his opponent away with such force that the man is launched out of the arena, landing in a restricted area. The protagonist goes after him. As he approaches, Kang claims he doesn't care about money or prizes, as he only wants peace for his family. However, Menon reveals that he doesn't care about money either. He explains that the host of this place is much more ambitious, as he is after immortality. His desire is to become a kind of deity, and because he believes himself to be untouchable, Menon concludes that Kang's family will never escape this place. Menon explains that with the wisdom and power of the human elite, it is truly possible to become a deity. He adds that Kang should feel honored to be the product of such revolutionary research, and reveals that his parents will arrive soon for the final experiment. Desperate for more answers, the protagonist tries to question him, but Menon faints before he can say anything else. Shortly after, a drone approaches and declares Kang the winner of the confrontation. At this point, however, the protagonist doesn't care about any of it and destroys the drone throne in anger. Immediately, a deafening alarm starts to sound throughout the facility, and an order is issued to eliminate all out-of-control test subjects. Without understanding what is happening, Kang sees armed guards arriving at the scene. The guards, however, quickly realize that their shots have no effect on the test subjects and decide that the best thing to do is to retreat to a safe location. However, before they can escape, one of the out-of-control test subjects attacks them. Realizing the situation is becoming chaotic, the protagonist decides he needs to find Cha Yeon-woo. Meanwhile, Cha Yeon-woo herself is convinced by her ally to leave the area. As they try to escape, they are surprised by a test subject that tries to attack her. At the exact moment of the attack, the protagonist appears to defend her, striking the creature and pulling Cha Yeon-woo away from danger. Startled, Cha Yeon-woo can't understand how Kang got there so quickly. He, however, states that this is no time for talk and asks her to take him to the restricted area, insisting that he won't leave the facility until he is sure his friends are safe. A while later, they reach the entrance to the area, but the bald ally says the situation is too dangerous and refuses to go on. Kang then claims that the safest place for them is by his side, so the only option is to keep moving forward. Inside the restricted wing, the other survivors are trying to escape, but Usyk, too weak, can no longer continue. It is at this moment that Kang appears and helps him up. As they try to organize their escape together, the host appears to prevent their flight, coldly declaring that his experiment is not over yet. The host threatens Kang, saying he'd better behave or all his friends will be eliminated. He then activates an emergency lock, abandoning the protagonist and the others inside the lab. However, the door doesn't close completely, and to everyone's surprise, it opens again. On the other side, they see the host get hit while trying to escape, then fall to the ground. It's at this moment that the protagonist sees his father, who declares he has come to take Kang home. Startled by a noise from the back, Kang immediately helps his friends escape, while his father closes the door as soon as everyone is out. Despite the host's protests, who claims the experiment must continue at all costs, he is left behind, alone against several furious test subjects, and the encounter is anything but pleasant for him. Shortly after, a countdown begins, accompanied by a warning that the place will explode. Sometime later, after winning bets in the combat wing and making powerful new friends, Cha Yeon-woo managed to send the two corrupt brothers to jail and put the Hoshin group back on track. Despite feeling tired from all the work, in a way, she also feels a great sense of relief at how everything turned out. Meanwhile, the protagonist is back in school and thinks that thanks to Cha Yeon-woo's help, he will finally be able to graduate. He also discovered that the effects of the doping, which his father believed had been lost, returned after he was seriously injured. After everything that happened, his father opened his own boxing gym, attracting not only new students, but also the attention of wealthy businessmen. He didn't do it alone, as he has the help of Kim Min-ho, who volunteered to teach boxing at the gym, although he still hasn't gotten used to controlling his speed in his daily life. Amanda also shows up at the gym from time to time, but not to train. Kang's father complains that because of her, his gym has trouble getting new students, as Amanda's presence attracts her biggest admirer and a horde of paparazzi. As if that weren't enough, Cha Yeon-woo also shows up at the gym, and shortly after, the protagonist himself arrives. Annoyed, Kang's father asks his son not to meet his friends at his new gym, as it disrupts the flow of students. Meanwhile, the protagonist thinks that, although his body still burns, he no longer sees himself as a monster. Far away, a mysterious being asks if the experiment was a failure. Menon replies that it wasn't, claiming that all of it was just the beginning of something much bigger.